Now, driving in this morning, there were some flurries. Don't panic. That's not something that's starting today and going through Friday. You heard it right if you listened to the forecast yesterday. We're talking about Thursday night into Friday, the possibility of the white stuff. So these flurries today really don't mean much. But again, the temperature only getting up to about 35. Then tonight, some clouds, 23 for a low. And tomorrow for your Wednesday, we will see the sun, 34 degrees for your high temperature. Coming up on the program today, the Grizzlies were back at it last night at home. And they got a win. The game was minus a lot of star power, but the Grizz knock off Dallas 119-104. We'll talk about that. Penny Hardaway had his weekly radio coaches show, had some interesting things to say as the Tigers get set for their third conference game this Saturday when they welcome East Carolina to town. And another Tiger was awarded by the conference. We'll give you those details. Memphis football recruiting, they continue to do incredibly well on paper in the transfer portal. We'll tell you what the latest is all about. We'll talk NFL. It's Wild Card Weekend coming up with games Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Some NFL news across the board as far as player transactions and the head coaching openings currently in the NFL, which numbers 5. We got Humdinger's Trivia. That'll come your way at approximately 8:05. Hunter Story's going to join us at 7:25. He's been on with us a couple of times. He's the director of the Bluff City Collective. And they have a big event coming up on Saturday, I guess coinciding with the Tigers' home basketball game. I want to talk to him about that and some other things as well. At 8:05, we'll talk some Big Orange sports. Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports on the Vols. The football season now in the rearview mirror. What's ahead for 2025? And the basketball team, the only undefeated team remaining. What are their chances for a natty this year? At least a Final Four run for Rick Barnes. We'll talk to Dave Hooker about that. At 9:25, it's all about the college football playoffs and the semifinals coming up on Thursday and Friday. We'll be joined by USA Today's Blake Topmeyer. We'll take your calls and your texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. That's your lineup for today. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's going on? What's happening?
Well, I'll tell you what. The one thing about this terrible weather we have this time of year with the stupid cold is gives an opportunity to spend a lot of time in the house and start maybe doing some watching of shows that I've been wanting to watch. So yesterday, I finally started Landman. Everybody's been telling me about, you got to watch Landman. So I finally watched it yesterday. What a show. I can't wait to get home now today to watch more of it. Like I am, the first episode of Landman is absolutely awesome. Billy Bob Thornton is so good. And I'm just like, the only part about it is I start thinking at night, I'm like, can I get one more episode in? Or what? I'm like, nope. I was very disciplined last night. I didn't try and watch an episode after the Grizzlies game. Went to bed. I'm like, tomorrow afternoon, I could get back to watching Landman.
Is that on Paramount?
That is on Paramount Plus. It is.
That's the one I don't get. I pay for 1 million different networks. I have everything. Apple TV, Hulu, Netflix. I don't have Paramount.
Oh, it is. Gosh, he is. I mean, I love Billy Bob Thornton to begin with, but he is great in this. And the first episode, again, like if you watch the first episode, you have to be hooked. Like he is so great in that first episode. It is just awesome.
I've watched so many good series. I do a lot of television watching. If I'm not busy in the afternoon and it's not golf season, and it certainly isn't right now, I'll binge watch. I watched, what was the last series I watched? Squid Game, number 2, the second season. One afternoon, boom, watch it, done. Really good. You know Squid Game?
I've heard of it, have no interest in watching it.
Do you have Apple TV?
I believe so, yes.
Apple TV's got a lot of great series. A lot of great series.
I don't, because I don't watch many, like, TV, like, shows like that. I just, like, people tell me about something, I'm like, maybe I'll get to it eventually. And if I do, like, again, this time of year I'll watch stuff, but this is pretty much the only time of year I really go in and watch that stuff. I don't go to Apple TV. I generally go to Netflix just to see what's on there. And I watch mainly on Netflix. I watch documentaries. And then I'll go to Paramount Plus because I'll actually watch some stuff, like some CBS stuff like live on Paramount Plus, and then I'll flip around on there to see what else they've got. But Landman, everybody's been like, you got to watch Landman, and so I've finally done it.
Yeah, my buddy, a couple of my friends that we go back and forth all the time, it was about shows yesterday, and that was a suggestion. And my other buddies, complaining about DirecTV and all that stuff, which we all do. But yeah, I pay for so much stuff. My bill is so large, so high, and yet I don't get Paramount. And there's a couple of things I need to see that's on Paramount, and I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. I'll eventually watch those shows because eventually I watch everything. But Apple TV, I'll give you one if you get a chance. It's called Slow Horses. Fabulous. I think you'll like it. Fabulous.
It's not about horse racing.
Not about horse racing. You don't want the slow horse.
They'd be
you want
bad.
a fast horse.
They would be bad. That'd be a really bad thing. The thing with me is, and this is why I had to start Landman. If I'm more than a season behind, like if I don't watch a show and they're into like season 2, I'm done. I'm like,
Go back?
I'm not going to try and catch up. Like I get intimidated unless it's half-hour episodes. If you give me 30-minute episodes, I'll do that. 1-hour episodes, if I'm like 15 episodes behind, I'm not willing to try it.
My record is, I think, and I don't know the exact time period, but it was short. I watched the 5 seasons of The Wire. I don't know how many episodes, 60 episodes. I watched it in 2 weeks.
It's funny because I was watching the Golden Globes.
So did I.
And I'm like, I don't know any of these shows. Like, I just don't. Like, there wasn't a show on there that I've watched.
Okay, so I watched the Golden Globes. One of the big winners was Shogun, right?
No chance I'm ever watching that.
So last night, much to the dismay of my wife, she likes the shows about you're on the island and you're coupling up and things like that, or
that's much more my
rich
speed.
crazy Asians, or somebody who's selling property. All those kind of shows. I hate those shows. So we started to watch. I gave up 10 minutes in. I'm tired of reading subtitles, and I know I've watched shows with the subtitles before, but she goes, "Oh man, it's like boats and old stuff." I go, "Yeah, Shogun, like 1600." So I don't know if I'll go back to that one.
There were literally there was not one thing that I'm not sure that there was a thing that was nominated that I've ever seen.
Really?
Because I don't watch movies. I just don't really do it. And any of those shows, most of them I've never heard of.
Well, Billy Bob Thornton was up for a Golden Globe for that show you just talked about.
But I hadn't watched it at that point.
Right, as was the guy from Wild Horses, and I think that show may have been up for it. But there were a number of shows I've heard of. It just seems like with the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards, they kind of bend over backwards now to be all-inclusive, and they have for years. And I'm not saying that foreigners don't deserve to be rewarded, because they certainly do, or awarded. But they really were. Those Shoguns, like, they swept. All those guys, the actor, supporting actor, actress, like, wow, let me start watching the show. 10 minutes, I was like, I'm turning it off. Let me ask the young man, Elijah. Elijah, what right now are you watching? What's hot for the youngsters today?
So talking about Shogun, I just finished it recently, and I'm telling you, stick with it through the first 2 episodes. You will not regret it. It is great.
Really?
I think it's amazing.
Do you not get tired of reading the subtitles?
No, not at all.
I do.
Anything like history, especially with feudal Japan, like that's right up my alley. I love it.
Wow, I love history too. I
I
like a lot of documentaries and things. This is not a documentary, but
Anything that is full-on subtitles, not even a chance I'll give it 3 minutes. I'm not reading. I could read a book. Like, if I want to read a book, I don't read books for a reason. I don't want to read a movie or a show. Like, no chance I will watch something unless it's little glips of subtitles. It's mainly English, but they have a little bit here or there. That's what I want. No chance in hell I'm doing subtitles.
Have you guys seen Breaking Bad? I just finished that recently.
oh yes,
I've never watched Breaking Bad. I fell behind. I'm not willing to go back and do it.
Never. What is it? Never Call Saul.
Yeah, that's the spinoff of it.
Yeah, I think I watched Never Call Saul first. Binge watched that. Then went back, watched Breaking Bad. Watched that. I've binge watched a lot of series.
Breaking Bad, Mad Men.
I haven't watched Mad Men.
Sopranos. Million things I've never watched. I'm not willing to go back and watch
Come
them.
on, Sopranos.
Gotta tap in.
Have you watched Sopranos?
I have not watched all of The Sopranos. I've seen a little bit of
Yeah,
it.
you got to see The Sopranos. You got to see The Sopranos. Anyway, that's our viewing habits for the public out there, whether you care or not. Last night I had to view the Grizzlies from the television. Not that I'm reluctant to do that because I love listening to Pete and Brev and Fish, but I like to go to the games when I can. But I got to be honest with you, I wasn't feeling good yesterday during our show. I went home and hit the sack, and I slept most of the day. I feel rejuvenated this morning. Going to go to the gym afterwards. So I'm feeling good today, but I needed that sleep. I was not feeling good yesterday. So got up in time, didn't eat much, but watched the Grizzlies play. And I don't know how well attended or lack thereof yesterday, but I can imagine that a lot of folks who maybe planned to go ended up not going because you had no Kyrie Irving, no Luka Doncic, no John Morant, no Des Bane. The star power was limited, but you did have Jaren Jackson Jr. And I'll say it again. I've said it many times already. If that guy is not a member of the Western Conference All-Star team, he's probably not going to be voted in, right? That's highly unlikely, but not at it. There should be an investigation. He is, with each passing game, getting better and better and more dominant and more dominant. He went for 35, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He is becoming a dominant force for the Grizzlies, a dominant force in the NBA. And again, the Mavericks, without those two stud guards, especially Luka, they're not good. They are good when they have everybody together, when they have, which they had last night, P.J. Washington, Gafford, guys they picked up before the trade deadline last year, which got them over the top. And now they have Klay Thompson. But when they don't have Luka, they're 1-8. They're not good. And you don't have Luka and Kyrie. Kyrie can't carry you. So I expected the Grizzlies to win last night. For a while there, it looked like they were going to lose. They were down double digits. But they rallied. They got the win. They're now 24-13 on the year. Jalen Wells, 17 points, 11 rebounds for a double-double. He was terrific again. Scottie Pippen Jr., 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, 4 assists, and a block. And how about Jitty? John Conchar with 13 rebounds. The guy just knows how to rebound the basketball, and it's not like he's 7 foot tall. So great job by the reserves or spot starters, and then, of course, the stud, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, the first quarter was ugly. Got to be honest, the Yuki first quarter minutes were a bit of a shock to the system.
Did you think you were calling a hustle game?
I did a spit take when he checked into the game in the first quarter. Like, okay, we're going deep here to try and figure things out in the first quarter. And I mean, I get they were turning the ball over. Like they just played horribly in that first quarter. But then things settled down, and yeah, I mean, Jaren was awesome. We saw point Jaren for a lot of that game. Like they were using him as basically the point guard. And
nobody could defend him.
And Dallas had no answer.
Right.
He got to the rim, got in the lane, did whatever he wanted to do. He was. That's what Jaren is capable of doing. We saw a lot of it last year. When you take those other guys out and just basically put it on him, he has the ability to go do it. And and then guys, Luke Kennard coming off the bench, hitting threes, Jay Huff hitting threes off the bench was nice as well. But yeah, Jaren, that was some classic stuff. I mean, they just had there was nobody on that team that had any possibility of stopping him from doing really whatever he wanted to do.
40 points from the bench. You mentioned Kennard coming back from the missed game in San Francisco. He had 13. Jay Huff at 11. Grizzlies overall make that 12 of 35 from 3. So solid at 34.3%. Meanwhile, you had Dallas hit 13 of 36. So basically a wash from 3. But the Grizzlies got to the free throw line 35 times. They went 27 of 35. Jalen Wells was 10 of 11 himself. Jackson was 8 of 12. And for Dallas, just 15 trips. They were 11 of 15. So that's a big difference right there. 20 more free throw attempts by the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and remember the game in Dallas where the Mavericks shot a ton of free throws. It's a little different when Luka and Kyrie are not playing when you start talking about free throw attempts for Dallas.
Wait, are you saying that stars get the benefit of the doubt in the NBA?
I'm saying mainly that those guys are really hard to guard until they draw fouls.
Yeah, well, both.
That's the biggest part of it. You don't need to foul Najee Marshall as much as you need to foul Kyrie Irving.
That's for certain. Because Marshall doesn't have the ball in his hands too often. Those other two guys do. Yeah, look, it's a good Dallas team. It's a really good Dallas team. But when they have guys missing, just like most teams, right? If not all teams, you're not going to be as good. But they're just downright average. So they're 20-16 now, Dallas is. Again, the Grizzlies, as I mentioned, 24-13, now 15-4 at home. Thursday night, the Rockets come to town. The return of Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, a good, physical, talented Houston team, which Memphis will play 3 times this month. I know Taylor Jenkins spoke about Ja. He said it's going to be soon. He didn't have exact details. But soon, does that mean Thursday? You'd love to see him back. Dez, I don't think it's anything too serious, but he's missed a bunch of games this year. The injuries continue to be a factor, but it wasn't last night where it cost them. The Grizzlies able to win that game 119-104.
I'm going to guess it won't be Thursday because he'll have a doubtful game before he goes to questionable and plays.
Got to get the doubtful game in there?
That's the way they do it. Now, the hope would be that maybe Thursday he is the doubtful game, and then he could play. That he would be questionable and play on. Was it Saturday? Was after that?
Yes, Saturday. Mm-hmm.
So that would be the hope. But yes, I would expect that we will be seeing him before too long.
Elsewhere in the NBA last night, congratulations to the Detroit Pistons. They're at 500 for the first time. Did I read that right? Is it like first time since 2018?
Yeah, I think it's something like that, yeah.
They beat the Trailblazers 118-115.
Cade Cunningham has been unbelievably good for them. Mm-hmm. He every night is like his numbers are insane now. He is everything they expected him to be. And they went out and added some veterans also, but JB Bickerstaff can coach. I don't think people interrupt. JB Bickerstaff can coach in the NBA.
He can coach
everywhere he goes. He wins, and then they get rid of him. But the dude can coach.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because he seems. Look, we've had a chance to talk to him. He's a delightful man. I don't know what it is. It doesn't end up good for him normally, but he's a good coach, and that's a talented team. Even with the loss of Jaden Ivey, who's done for the year, you still have a lot of, and that's what you expect, right? Via the draft, you've had all these high draft picks that you would hope that they would pay off eventually, and it seems like it's happening. Elsewhere last night, Zach LaVine went off for the Bulls. They beat the Spurs 114-110. Who was was it? No, it was White. Kobe White had that dunk on
Kobe
Wemby.
White. Little old Kobe White got Wemby last night. That was a hell of a dunk.
That was a poster right there. Kings win their 5th straight. They win in double overtime over the Heat, 123-118. No Jimmy Butler, of course. Still nothing yet on that trade front. I'm sure there'll be a lot of rumors, as there already is, a lot of innuendo, and we'll see what ends up happening. I'm sure Pat Riley will take his good, sweet time, and I don't think anybody's going to pull the wool over the eyes of the wily veteran, Pat Riley, as far as a trade is concerned. And the Suns beat the Sixers in Philly. No Joel Embiid, 109-99.
Well, the big news there is that they brought Bradley Beal off the bench, and he went for 25. But there are people that believe them moving him to the bench could encourage him to waive a no-trade clause to go elsewhere to help facilitate a trade some way for Jimmy Butler.
Well, the chances of Bradley Beal being with this team after the trade deadline are very small. Wouldn't you say? Remaining in Phoenix?
Yeah. And again, moving him to the bench, I think, encourages that. But again, he's got a no-trade clause, so he can apparently, and I don't know what teams he would want to go to, all that. I mean, he's had a chance to go to some places, I believe. But if he's coming off the bench, that might encourage him to waive that no-trade clause to go some places he may not have otherwise wanted to go.
All right, we'll take our first time out. Later on in the show, we'll talk plenty of Tigers basketball with Penny Hardaway speaking last night at his coach's show. Another honor for the Tigers star, P.J. Haggerty. We got Memphis Tiger football recruiting to get to. When we come back, though, on the Tigers basketball front, we're going to talk about the NIL. We're going to talk with Hunter Story, director of the Bluff City Collective. They got a big event coming up on Saturday. We'll also, look, we've talked to Hunter before about how the sausage is made. There's still questions that I have. It's a very interesting topic, to say the least, the NIL. We'll talk to Hunter about that. He's on deck here on the program. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Success doesn't just happen. It's built with smart solutions. Are outdated listings, ignored reviews, and low visibility holding your business back? With MyBusinessWins.com, you're in control. Powered by cutting-edge AI, our platform helps your customers find you, keeps them coming back, and grows your revenue effortlessly. Everything you need to win, all in one place. Don't settle for tools that don't deliver. Start your 7-day free trial at MyBusinessWins.com today. MyBusinessWins.com. AI-powered tools to win, all in one place.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's trying to build on 385 Bill Morris Parkway coming inbound as you pass Riverdale, working your way all the way up to Ridgeway, getting onto 240 there at Mount Moriah. Still decent at the moment, coming up from the south on 55 northbound up through South Haven all the way into South Memphis. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, they're located at 7525 Highway 64. They are your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. Go by and see David and his family today. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:25 the time on this cold Tuesday morning in Memphis. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers with you from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. As I mentioned, the Memphis Tigers back on the hardwood this Saturday as they'll take on East Carolina at FedEx Forum. And then afterwards, there's a big event going on at the Rendezvous. And it's all about NIL. It's about the Bluff City Collective. And we've enjoyed having Hunter Story on the show a couple of times and want to talk to him about this big event coming up on Saturday and some other things as well. Hunter is the director of the Bluff City Collective. You can follow him on Twitter at HunterStory11. And Hunter joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. How are you, Hunter?
Good. How about you?
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. Good to be back.
So let me ask you about the event first, and then we'll dive into some other particulars about NIL. But the Tigers game on Saturday, I think it begins at 1 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, after the game, you're inviting fans of the University of Memphis and hopefully donors as well, people who will be willing to give money to the NIL cause, to come to this Rendezvous event. Give us all the details.
Yeah. So this is our second year actually doing this. We partnered with the Rendezvous last year. They've been awesome. It is a chance more to meet the players and hang out with them and connect with them, as opposed to a huge money raise. You'll get to come down there. The Rendezvous puts out a whole spread of their food, which, as everyone knows, you can't beat. Open bar, and then the players will come in with Coach Hardaway. There will be a chance to talk to them, meet them. Last year we did a stand-up Q&A and then autographs and pictures with the coaches and players, and just hang out for a couple hours and get to know them and hang out with them and be with them. I think we view this more as a chance just to hang out with them and have the fans be around them. I know one of the big complaints is that there's so many guys shuffling in and out, so we thought this was a cool way to partner with a Memphis downtown business. It's been a staple forever, and invite the fans to meet them.
And what is the cost? How do folks get tickets for this?
Yeah, you get tickets. You can go to bluffcitycollective.com and get the tickets. It's $75. It includes your food, the open bar, and meeting the players, and you do not need to purchase kids tickets for young kids. So if you have an adult, they have 2 young kids, just buy 1 ticket, bring the kids, and come hang out.
And you don't have to have a ticket to the game itself versus East Carolina. This is a completely separate event.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And as far as limitations, is there a certain amount of people that you're going to limit it to? So get on to the website and get your tickets now, or is it pretty much wide open?
Yeah, last year we have a cap for 260 people, and we sold out last year. So that's our cap again this year, just to make sure there's enough room for everyone to sit down and be able to move freely. It's in a long ballroom that they set up for us. Pretty cool little area, but yeah, it's about 260 people total, and we sold out last year about 4 or 5 days before the game.
Do you, and I don't know if you have like a breakdown, but like you said just a moment ago, this is more for the fans to come and meet these players. It's an ever-changing roster each and every year, no matter what program you're in nowadays with the transfer portal, right? There's going to be a lot of new faces. So you're giving them the opportunity to come, enjoy themselves, have a great dinner, drinks, and meet these players and meet Coach Hardaway and his staff. But do you remember from last year, basically how many of those type of fans that come out are just strictly for this event, or how many also donate to the cause, which is NIL for the Bluff City Collective?
Yeah, we had a good bit of the, our normal donors right now who came over right after the game. So I would probably, I don't really know off the top of my head. I would say probably 20 to 30% of the people supported, but a lot of the attendees last year, a good bit were younger people, younger kids. So that was, what we wanted. We were hoping for anyways, as opposed to a huge, NIL haul. We wanted it to be a younger crowd, younger kids, people bringing their kids to meet the Tigers. So probably like 20 to 30% if I had to guess.
Is there? I assume obviously there are people there like yourself, but is it if somebody wants to kind of get information on NIL, the collective, all that? I assume they can do that there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a perfect place to come talk to us. We're happy to do it. Michael will be there. I'll be there. And yeah, we're happy to chat at any time. You can also, call us at any time as well. But we partnered with the Rendezvous. They've been a great supporter of NIL and of helping us out, and then doing this event and helping us out with the event as well. So it's, a local business that took the initiative to help us out as well. And so we're super grateful for them.
Last time you were on, you gave us a lot of information to kind of understand the NIL and Bluff City Collective a lot better. And I want to go over some of that again today for those who maybe didn't listen the last time you were on. But the Bluff City Collective is for men's basketball, right?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
There's also an NIL collective at the University of Memphis for football separate and then other sports. How does that work?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how it works. You've got a collective that does Memphis men's basketball, and then the 901 Fund, which we try to encourage everyone to donate to both, supports football and then all the other sports. And I think the main reason for having the basketball-only collective is that Memphis's basketball program in the conference that we're in is quite unique compared to the other schools in the conference. It requires a little bit more to compete at the level we try to compete at, as opposed to a lot of the other teams in the conference.
So this time of year, obviously the roster, now there was the one addition here at the break and all that stuff, but this time of year from a collective perspective, is it more just about putting on these types of events, doing that stuff, and still trying to raise money? What kind of is the collective doing right now as the roster is set and the season's going on?
Yeah, I think this time of year, like you said, we use it to try to do at least 1 to 2 events that are more fan-focused, allow a larger bit of attendance, and then you're out there raising money, talking to donors, and getting ready for next year, and just building out as much of a donor base as you can, getting commitments, and building up what you think your pool of money will look like for next year. Because until the season gets to the conclusion and the portal opens, you really don't know what to expect, who's going to be there, what the market's going to look like. So at this time, it's just fundraising and trying to, big thing, trying to promote fan attendance at the games and help out there, and then just encourage people to get to know the guys.
Do the players' payments from NIL wrap up at the very end of the season, the end of March? Is that when it severs the ties and then you move on to the next year's class?
Yeah, the contracts are 1 year and they conclude in May.
They conclude in May. Okay.
Yeah.
The last time you were on, I think it startled a few people because I got a lot of reaction to it. I asked you, how good is the Bluff City Collective for Memphis basketball compared to other collectives around the country for basketball? And I forget the number you said, but it's extremely high. Can you give us some of that information?
Yeah, I believe I said we're in the top 12 based on the last 2 years and this year. It's about where you'll find us in the top 12, probably the lower end of the top 12. You've had some schools in the past year that have really popped up and have surged with new money, but about top 12 in the country.
Are you still, and again, as we continue to evolve through this, are you guys continuing to get new donors, add money to this?
Yeah, we've had a couple new large donors this year that have stepped up that weren't donors last year or the year prior, actually.
Is it when you're finding those new, is it more because they just didn't know for sure exactly what NIL was? Like, what is it that now is convincing people to get involved, maybe if they weren't the last couple of years?
I do think some people are starting to see around the country other influential donors at schools get involved and be more open about helping out. But I think Coach Hardaway's also opened up doors to people who may not have been Memphis fans yet, or they were, big Penny Hardaway fans, and have opened sort of new doors there as well.
So how does it work exactly when a donor, let's say a donor who doesn't own a business, that's still allowed, right? They give a certain amount of money. Well, obviously the money has to be distributed for these players to do something, right? It's not just handed to them in a brown paper bag or a direct deposit into their account. So do they say, listen, I'm going to give this amount of money. Would these guys be willing to do an autograph signing session, or do they leave it to you guys and then you decide how the money will be distributed by what these players will do?
Yes, I think that's a case. That's a flexibility that you get with NIL. It's more of a case-by-case basis. You have some donors that would come to you and say, hey, I want to give this amount of money. I would like to, do X, Y, and Z. Or we've had some that just gave the money and said, it's up to y'all how you want to activate them. And so I can't get too much of the specifics, but we have part of their contract. We have activations written in there that we assist them in doing that goes towards earning that money. And then, like, for example, one donor we've had come, and he wanted them to come to a charitable event, and they went to the charitable event and showed up and just went and hung out for a couple hours, and that was an activation. We took pictures, videos. They hung out with people and talked for a little bit, and so that's sort of the flexibility of it, or that NIL provides, is you can kind of be creative in how you want to do it. But at the end of the day, like you said, we've got to find there has to be some sort of activity to earn the money.
It seems like a lot of it is some charity events of one type or another, right?
Yeah, so there's a charitable aspect to it. I think the they've cracked down on the whole 501c3 status of charitable organizations as far as the collective. So we're not one of those. We were never going to be one of those. But a lot of the activations do involve working with charity. Like last year, we did a lot with Champions for Literacy locally here. And so, yeah, I think I see a lot of people doing charitable work, even though they're not, the collectives themselves aren't 501c3s.
Does every player have an NIL deal?
No.
So not every player does. In a situation like Dante Harris, who was just brought in, does he have an NIL deal?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay. And then when it comes to the University of Memphis specifically, there was the donation from the Smith family for $5 million per year that is broken up. I don't know how exactly, but I've heard different ways that it's broken up. Some of it goes to men's basketball. Does that go into your collective, or is that something that's separate?
We're not. I can't really speak on that whole deal. We're not allowed to publicly speak on the mechanics and the terms, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would be happy to.
You said Harris does not have one, but within the collective, do you guys coming into the season have a pool of money kind of set aside in case there are additions at the break that you need to do an NIL deal with?
Yeah, you try to have a little bit set aside, but at the same time, you are raising. Like I was saying, you are raising. Once the season starts, you're still raising money. So there's always a path to getting it. And for example, if you have a kid like that, you've got probably a month from when you get him till first payment would be due, like when we had Naquan Tomlin last year. But yeah, you're constantly raising money and building up that sort of pool. Even if you have to pull a little from next year, you've got plenty of time if you do to recoup that ahead of next season.
Hunter Story, the director of the Bluff City Collective, is joining us on the program. You can follow Hunter on Twitter at HunterStory11. The event is the Rally at the Rendezvous, which will begin 3:30 on Saturday. Go to 5:30, meet and greet with the players and the coaches, pictures, autographs, Q&A with the Tigers players and coaches, plus the ticket includes drink and food. Should be a fun time at the Rendezvous. Go to BluffCityCollective.com for more information. Okay, you probably can't answer this, but as far as in general, how much money do you believe it takes to have in a collective for a program around the country to really compete for a title, to be successful?
Yeah, I think if you want to go low end and you scouted well and you get a well-built team, maybe you have 2 or 3 guys that are high paid and you've found some really good players at the lower level conferences and pulled them in. I think at minimum right now, probably $3.5 million to be, in the lower end of competitive. But the range is so high because you have a couple schools right now that are paying, really big bills. But I would say 3.5, maybe even 4 now after this last year to be on the low end of competitive.
Without saying the school, and I don't know if you even know this information, but what would be the high end?
Your BYUs, your Kentuckys, your Dukes, those type of schools. Arkansas, obviously. Sorry, I forgot about that one.
I was going to say Arkansas.
That's usually a clear cut one. Yeah, that's usually a clear cut one right there. There's a group of schools that are just up there, and we don't really know everything about it, but we know they've worked in conjunction with some huge brands for certain guys, especially when you have those elite freshmen that can really run up your bill a bit higher. But from what I've seen, at least in the public, some of those are helped out to a degree by large companies on the outside covering a portion of that. But yeah, the range is probably, I would say, $4 million for right now, 3.5, 4.
Okay, that'd be the low end, 3.5, 4.
Yeah.
But we're talking probably double for these other schools or somewhere up in that neighborhood. It is quite interesting. What do you see for the not too distant future with NIL changes or anything like that? What do you kind of look into the crystal ball and see?
Well, I think we're going to see next year is going to be. I think it'll be an interesting year of discovery because you're moving towards the end, the payments directly from the schools, and contracts are going to have to account for that, and schools are going to have to make a decision as well. Are they going to retain an outside? Are they going to keep a collective around so that if they do hit the the cap on the distributions directly from the school, that they can use a third-party collective to go over that. And I would imagine, based on what I've seen, that you'll see litigation from donors, collectives, boosters on this whole fair market valuing that the NCAA has put forward, which is a long conversation for another day. But I think actually over the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to see a pretty large change from what we've seen the first 2 years, because of the direct payments. It's going to allow for a little bit different contracting and agreements, and then you'll have schools, especially those schools in the SEC and Big Ten, that aren't going to stop at that cap number, and the only way to go over it is by using a outside the house third-party collective. So I think that's more of where you'll see collectives come in for schools and the future, and then the schools will bear those direct payments. So definitely going to be a big year in contracting, and then I think you'll see a lot of litigation and stuff come forward as well.
There's a long line of people who want to sue the NCAA and get their win, because everybody wins when they sue the NCAA.
It's a conga line to take on the NCAA. Now, and
the law firms always win.
Yes,
that's right.
And this has nothing to do with the avenue that we are going down, and that would be revenue sharing.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, the revenue sharing will be it will be where that money that the schools will pay directly derives from. There's a long cap. There's a way that they formulated the percentage and the number. I honestly haven't looked at it in a couple of months since it came out, but that's where the revenue that the schools get, a certain percentage, makes up that total amount that they can pay out directly. And then once you hit that number, your only option is to find money outside to sort of put yourself ahead of your competitors.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I've always, especially at the Power Four, they'll be at and then you still want to separate yourself by being able to pay more money through the collectives and NIL. That's how you separate yourself from the others who are still doing it. Do you see where, like, will the money that they are using for the revenue sharing, can that be like, can they go to donors to get that money? Like, will it end up being where they're kind of competing against themselves with the donors, whether you're going to give it here or give it there?
No, I don't think so. I truthfully don't know how every school is going to operate. I don't even know that Memphis has decided how they'll operate. But they'll get their distributions as they always do, and then I think, in a perfect world, I don't think you have to compete against yourself on that. I think you have your money from your rev sharing, and then your donors sort of supplement that. Because I think if you see, there was a couple schools that ceased, basically 2 years ago, ceased all renovations, upgrades, changes. I think that'll sort of open back up, and then because the schools will bear, a good chunk of the burden. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think you'll compete as much. I think you'll see them help you out on the outside, and actually you'll probably have more real NIL occurring from the collectives now, as opposed to what we've seen. Mm-hmm. So I think the true purpose there will probably be more realistic, and then you'll see, not Memphis, but the schools that paused those type of renovations and changes will probably get back into doing those and using donor money and contributions from that to begin those projects again.
The event, Rally at the Rendezvous, it is this Saturday, 3:30 to 5:30. Tickets, bluffcitycollective.com. Should be a lot of fun. Hunter, always great to have you on the program. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Always enjoy it. I'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, it's I saw Keith Carter at the Ole Miss Memphis game before the game, and just when I was walking in, he was right there, and so I was talking to him about that. He said, I mean, in the end, what it is for them is it's just moving from here to, like, you're just trying to
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
We got to pull. We no longer the stuff that we wanted to do, and a lot of it is facilities and stuff like that. It's like, okay, we got to put this on hold because we need this money over here now. Mm-hmm. And he said, he said, but we'll be fine. It's just figuring it out. It's just puzzle pieces at this point of where we're pulling from to supplement this. And what does that mean over here and all of these things. And I was like, man, good luck to y'all. Because I'm trying to sort through all that and figure it out, especially right here at the beginning, especially when you're talking about the new scholarship and roster limits and that money that you got to have. There's so many different pools now that you're looking at that trying to sort through that would seem to me like be a massive headache.
Oh, it seems incredibly complicated. Plus, it's all coming together at once, as opposed to just drawn out in increments. It's all together. You're having to do this, that. You just talked about some of the different things that's going on. Of course, Memphis is in the midst of a renovation to their stadium and all kinds of other things that are going on, other projects as well. Well, folks, take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. If you are a basketball player, if you are the father of a basketball player, the grandfather of a basketball player, you coach a team. You want them to get the best coaching they can get, the best use of technology and analytics. Shoot 360 Memphis is the place for you. Revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification. You get that instant objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. They have some of the best coaches around. And they also offer free coaching clinics for coaches out there, free coaching clinics, right? Think about where you're going to better yourself as an individual. How are you going to become a better basketball player, a better shooter? Well, the analytics help, right? It tells you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and that coaching, of course, you can't beat that as well. You get it all at one place, Shoot 360 Memphis in Cordova and in Collierville. You could become a member at one, either, or both. Give them a call in Cordova at 901-779-3176. Ask for a tour of the facility, set up a time and a date. You'll enjoy it. Same deal with Collierville at 901-316-5500. You can go online to sign up at Shoot 360 Memphis, and they offer you monthly membership. Monthly membership. You cannot beat that. You're not bogged down with a long-term year or multi-year agreement. You go for a month. If you like it, and I guarantee you will, you're going to sign up for more months. If not, no harm, no foul. The future of basketball training is here. It's at Shoot 360 Memphis. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rows, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
Make 2025 the year you get started on your next success with University of Maryland Global Campus, an accredited state university. UMGC is a school for real life, helping working adults like you learn the skills you need for the career you want. Choose from more than 135 degrees and certificates in career-relevant fields, and earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and life and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer scholarships, affordable tuition, and online and hybrid classes, all with the support you need from your first day to graduation day and beyond. Get a head start on your goals in the new year. Now is the perfect time to take the next step in your life and education. Apply to UMGC by February 12th and get your application fee waived. Combined with affordable tuition, scholarships, and financial resources, your degree is more attainable than ever before. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by SARF.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is real. So tackle the toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer Side. This rugged side-by-side is powered in any party with reliable torque towing and smooth shifting for trails. And you can choose from 3 trails: standard, Polaris, or the Trinity Force Edition. Ultimate Airlines Adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer Side today at Casino Honda, 5657 Mill Road in Old
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
They may have to rename the American Conference Men's Basketball Player of the Week award to the P.J. Haggerty Award. He wins the honor for a 3rd week this young season, 2nd in a row. He's won it 3 of the 5 weeks. The other 2, one won by a Tiger, Moussa Cisse. The other one, I'm not sure who won. But Memphis 4 out of 5 weeks have been honored. Haggerty, or make that 5th overall in 6 weeks for the Tigers.
Tyrese Hunter won the one.
Yeah, I shortchanged them. 5 out of 6. Hunter was the other one. Memphis has owned that award, and P.J. Haggerty has won it half the time so far. He led Memphis to a 2-0 week to open up conference play, defeating Florida Atlantic on the road, then knocking off North Texas at home. Haggerty averaged 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 1.5 assists, and 34.6 minutes per game. He shot 68% overall, 80% from 3, 72.7% from the free throw line, and reached 1,000 career points on Sunday against North Texas. You talk about an immediate impact. P.J. Haggerty. I saw a tweet, and I think it might have been from our buddy John Varlas. If it wasn't John, you're listening, my apologies. But I thought it was John. It may not have been. And it said that he's the best scorer since Chris Douglas Roberts. I would say Kendrick Davis would have to be on that list.
David Jones would be on that list.
David Jones last year.
David Jones could score.
That last year for Jeremiah Martin, he was a scorer as well. But a bucket getter, certainly one of the greats is Chris Douglas Roberts. But I think there's been a few since then. But this guy, Haggerty, his size, he's able to use it as a weapon. He can physically take a punishment and finish, get to the free throw line, and still hammer down threes. He has the most threes made on the team. Or here, Hunter. But either way, he's right up there. And you're talking about a guy who can score in all facets, and he's shooting overall 50% from the field. This is not a big who's dunking. This is a guard who's going into traffic with defenders right there and still scoring at that pace, that clip.
Well, he's just got an unbelievable ability to get to the free throw line. But also, he finishes a lot at the rim when he is or isn't fouled. He can, and really it seems like nobody can keep him out of the lane. He's third on the team in three-pointers made.
Three-pointers made third? Okay.
Yeah, Hunter's got more than twice as many as him. I think he doesn't make, he makes a little over 1 per game three-pointer. But he's made 110 free throws already. In 15 games, he's made 110.
Well, last year he got
attempted 134. He's almost averaging, he's averaging 9 free throw attempts per game.
Last year he got to the free throw line. Was it the second most in the country?
Yeah, I think it was
first or second,
yeah,
right? He's got to be way up there again this year.
He just has an unbelievable ability to create contact, finish through contact. Last year he averaged 10 free throw attempts per game. Again, this year he's right at 9 free throw attempts per game.
He can rebound the basketball well. He's not as tall as David Jones, who was a really good rebounder. He's not that much shorter, but he's listed, I think, 6'5", Haggerty. Haggerty's an NBA player. There's no doubt in my mind he's an NBA player. When you could play physical, absorb contact, still finish, play defense, rebound the basketball, hit the three, not a great three-point shooter, but certainly can hit the three, and get to the free throw line and make your free throws. He's an NBA player.
Yeah, he'll need to become a better three-point shooter. But certainly I think with the strength and tools that he has, he certainly will have an opportunity in the NBA. It'll be, if he was a little bit bigger, a little taller, certainly, be no doubt. But yeah, I think he'll certainly have that opportunity.
Last night, Penny Hardaway at his weekly radio coaches show talked about a number of different topics, but really the one that stood out was the turnover issue for the Tigers. And as I've said many, many times, and you guys know from watching, that a lot of those turnovers are self-inflicted. They try to make the harder pass when they can make the easier pass. They throw into double coverage. They throw in a congested area. And then, unfortunately, in the last game, although they were able to win, Dane Danger got you 14 points, had 7 turnovers. So instead of inside out, back into Danger, he'll try to do a little bit too much, and then sometimes he'll throw it out of a double team and get caught up and throw it to the other team. So he's turned it over a lot, but I think Haggerty leads the team in turnovers. They do turn over the ball an awful lot. So Penny said on the turnover problem, it's pace and it's decision-making. You got to have better decision-making. You can play fast without being in a hurry. They are number 327 in the country in turnovers per game at 14.5. He says those turnovers should be shot attempts. He's absolutely right. You can play fast without being in a hurry, but he's also right about decision-making. Just make the easier pass. Don't make – there was the Tyrese Hunter drive against North Texas where he threw a no-look into the corner, but he threw it into the first row. Things like that. There were times when you could throw a no-look pass. There are other times like that on the run when you better look at where you're throwing the ball. But a lot of times it's self-inflicted, these turnovers. And that's certainly something that's very concerning for Penny. Because, again, if you turn it over 15 times a game, 14.5 on average, right? 15 times a game, let's round it out. You're talking about 15 possessions that you don't get a shot off. And against really good teams, it could come back and haunt you. So far, they've been able to overcome that for the most part. But you don't want to have that cost you a game, just having a bunch of turnovers, especially when teams are not really pressing you.
Make the simple pass. That's all it takes sometimes.
All right, we'll make the simple transition to a commercial break. We'll come back. We'll open up hour 2 with Humdinger's Trivia. And then Dave Hooker will join us to talk Tennessee. All things are pretty rosy right now on the Hill with this men's basketball team, #1 in the nation and undefeated. We'll talk about that, football, and all things UT Vols when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today at 801-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them 382-2363. That's 382-2363. The Family Leisure floor model sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want piercing? Family Leisure has their sale up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it and get on the installation schedule and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. If you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model sale now through the end of January. Family Leisure, 100 I-40. Family and fun come together. Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Witten Road in Martin. Pick up on ask Uber Eats on the line at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still moving right now on 385 Billmore Parkway coming inbound out of Collierville all the way up to 240 as traffic tries to move around a little bit more over there around the airport in the last few minutes. Still not bad actually on 40 eastbound across Hernando de Soto Bridge coming over from Crittenden County over from West Memphis. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area now for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Go by and see them first. Why? Because you'll save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 8:01 the time, hour number 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 edition of the program. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, their floor model sale continues at 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. 28 degrees, cloudy skies, a little bit of flurries this morning. We'll get up to about 35. That is it tonight, 24 for a low, partly cloudy. Then tomorrow we'll see the sun, but only a 34-degree high temperature is what's projected. Friday, of course, Thursday night into Friday, there is some snow in the forecast. We'll keep you up to date with that as we get closer and closer. Hour 2 of the program brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. I'll give you a little more information on the great folks at James Gaddis Jewelers a little bit later on in the hour. But it is Tuesday. It's time for Humdinger's Trivia.
That's right. And of course, over at Humdinger's, they've got plenty of great food for you to choose from, including on Tuesdays, of course, Taco Tuesday with their chicken and fish tacos. Just $2 each all day, each and every Tuesday. You can take advantage of that deal over there. Of course, if it's not Tuesday or maybe just not in the mood for the tacos, many other great items from their great appetizers to their great grilled fish options, the po' boys, the piri-piri burger and other sandwiches that you can take advantage of. The crispy fish and chips. On Fridays, you can get the crispy fish and chips for just $9.99. That's the deal on Friday that you can take advantage of. Great deals, great food over at Humdinger's. Poplar and Massey is where you'll find them. And you can also find them online at humdingersrestaurant.com, where you can check out the entire menu. You can also get information about catering if you need an event catered. They can certainly take care of that for you. You can get all that information through the website and also order online at humdingersrestaurant.com. If you are the first to answer our trivia question correctly, then you will win a $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's. Somebody texted in, by the way. It says the shrimp and grits are low-key amazing there. I'm not a grits guy. I'll take your word for it. I'm sure they are, but I just don't do grits. Can't do grits.
I don't do grits. I do shrimp.
I love shrimp. And they're the Humdinger shrimp, all the shrimp over there. I love you get a little skewer shrimp with the grilled fish, all that. But yeah, I'm just not it's one of the things I just haven't adapted to the South. I'm just not willing to get in the tea, dirt water, and grits. Two things that I'm not dealing with.
The texture of grits.
It's I don't know. I don't know. But y'all, hey, more power to you.
Eat your grits.
Keep having your grits.
Kiss my grits.
And I'll keep trading those out for other things when they come on a breakfast plate. I always say, can I get rid of the grits and put something else? Yeah.
Double hash browns.
The kitchen sink over at Sunrise. Give me some hash browns. Get rid of those grits. There's always ways to do it. But yes, all the food is delicious over at Humdinger's. Again, if you answer the question correctly first, you will get a $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's. You can answer via the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line by texting in at 360-8255, 360-8255. Text in those answers and get the first correct answer, get a $25 gift certificate. If you have won in the last 30 days, you are not eligible, and you only get one guess. Here is today's question. Brock Bowers of the Las Vegas Raiders had an amazing rookie season. He set the NFL record for rookie tight end yardage, which had been around for a long time since Mike Ditka. He also set the NFL record for most catches by a rookie with his 112, breaking the record set last year by Puka Nacua. One record he did not break is the single-season record for catches by a tight end. He came up a little bit short in that one. Who holds the record for most catches in a season by a tight end? 360-8255, 360-8255. Who holds the NFL record most catches in a season by a tight end? First correct answer, we'll get that $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's.
We got NFL to get to a little bit later on. We got a new deal to talk about for our buddy Brent Rooker, friend of the show. Another friend of the show for all things Tennessee Volunteers is Dave Hooker, who joins us now here on Sports 56 Mornings from Off the Hook Sports. You can follow Dave on Twitter at @TheDaveHooker. Happy New Year, Dave. How are you?
Happy New Year. I know the answer to the question, and I bet they've got wings at Humdingers. Am I allowed to answer it?
You are correct. They do have wings, which are very good. But we'll
I bet.
we'll get your answer at the end if we already have a winner.
Well, let me ask you this, Dave. 2024, with the baseball team winning a natty, with the football team going to the first ever 12-team playoff, with the basketball team starting out the way they have started, how good of a year was it in 2024 for Tennessee athletics?
Yeah, I think it was incredible, and it's kind of funny how you frame that, but it kind of ended with a thud, and it wasn't just the way the Ohio State game was played out. I mean, Ohio State's a hot team, and Tennessee didn't play its best, and that happens, and their talent level probably isn't the upper echelon. But the fact that it happened in the middle of the month and you didn't even have a bowl game to go to kind of has Tennessee fans a little bit in a quandary, I think. And, it's been a little weird, and people are very, very concerned about the transfer portal and the players that Tennessee's lost. So, and they haven't fully accepted this basketball team yet. So, in Knoxville, 2024 hasn't been celebrated, in my opinion, as it should have been.
Yeah, and that's one of the thing that you brought up about the no bowl kind of game. That's one of the things people brought up about this new playoff with these, and especially if you're one of the teams that goes on the road in that first round and you lose. Yeah, it's like your season came to an end. You had a great year, but your season came to an end in a weird way that you're like, we didn't really get to enjoy the end of it, like with the bowl experience or a home game in the playoff. It was just over.
Yeah, see, I have several friends that their two vacations are one they take in the summer, beach vacation, and then the other one they go. I mean, it could be the Ottawa Bowl, and they would go to Ottawa. So I think that's kind of left people in a weird space. And, obviously Tennessee showed up at Columbus for the Ohio State game. But let's be frank. I mean, 90% of those tickets are promised to the home fans, and you're never going to have a major dent. So that's not going to be a road trip. Not to mention Columbus is not the best vacation spot in the world. But so I think that, I think there's a weird sort of feeling. And then with the transfer portal losses, that's kind of been magnified too. So it's not been as celebrated as I would expect, and I would hope for Tennessee fans moving forward.
I hear what you guys are saying. Obviously, it would have been a different story if Tennessee had beaten Ohio State. They wouldn't be talking about, we missed the whole bowl experience. And let me tell you this. If they had gone to the ReliaQuest Bowl and not made the playoff, people would have been belly aching over that as well. You can't have everything. This is the system we have now.
Amen. I mean, I'm certainly not arguing with you. I'm just kind of sharing what I hear from Tennessee fans. But I 100% agree. I mean, to be in some other bowl game and not to be in the college football playoff means your season, no argument, is a failure. Yeah, you should be one of the top 12 teams and in the playoff every year. Just like in the NFL. If your team in the NFL doesn't make the playoffs, you look at it, you're like, well, that was terrible. And that's the way Tennessee football should be viewed from this point forward.
Yeah, and I completely understand what you're saying, and you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on up there. I certainly don't. But it's amazing when you think about the year they had that I started out this conversation with. The baseball team wins the national championship. The football team goes to the first 12-team playoff. Yeah, it ends in a dud, but they went to the playoff. They had a very good year in a tough SEC. And the basketball team is off to a number one ranking and the only unbeaten team in the country. And to have any fan out there go, yeah, but we didn't do this or didn't do that, you just want them to slap them in the face, say, shut up. You know how many programs, how many schools around the country would take that in a heartbeat?
Yeah, I mean, you actually may make this a topic on my show today. You're absolutely right. The more I think about it, and but let's be honest. I mean, it's a football school. If you told the average fan Tennessee will be in the national championship game, maybe not win it, but they'll be in the national championship game, but they're going to lose every baseball and basketball game they played. I bet the majority of fans would take that.
You're probably right.
And that sounds insane, I understand, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's such a football town that, I mean, I will give you, for instance, when we check the analytics on all of our stuff on a weekly or daily basis, and, we get more reaction from recruiting than we do a lot of times from really hot, newsy basketball stuff. So I think that's the way Knoxville's always going to be.
I was going to say maybe it worked out well because they could have spent some of that vacation money in Omaha this past summer, or maybe Omaha next summer. They might be able to do it, or this summer they get a chance to go back to Omaha and do that. But you talk about the transfer.
It's all about the budget, isn't it?
That's
right.
It is.
The transfer portal, guys are losing, and they haven't been. From what I've seen, they haven't brought a whole lot of guys in. What is going on right now in the portal for them?
Well, I mean, they lose Squirrel White, who I believe was mishandled last year, and a slot receiver that really fit what they like to do, suffered a shoulder injury, and I felt like there were times where he either said, I'm going to play, or Tennessee's medical staff cleared him early, or whatever the case may be. But there were times where I thought he was out there and dinged, and now he transfers to Florida State alongside a couple of other players that really weren't a factor for Tennessee, and they probably like that scholarship back. But I think the Squirrel White may be a sign of a bigger concern. And I know you asked about the transfer portal, but you have to look at Kelsey Pope as a receivers coach, and this is his third year as a receivers coach. He was elevated as an analyst, and I don't want to get off topic, but so was Tennessee's offensive coordinator. So was Joey Halsey. So was Tennessee's tight end coach, and Alec Ablett. So I think Kelsey Pope is a bit of a concern here because particularly Mike Matthews, the freshman, highly touted, didn't develop. And we saw freshmen make plays at other places, so it can be done. I think that Josh Heupel, with the transfer portal, has to address some needs. I don't know if Tennessee, because of their offensive struggles last year, are as appealing. But as of right now, they have 3 scholarship receivers. They have 3 incoming freshman scholarship receivers and a bunch of question marks at that position. So they have to address that in the transfer portal, I believe. The concern, if you're a Tennessee fan, is it seems like it takes almost every receiver a year to adapt to this offense. So what are they going to look like in 2025? I think that's a very serious concern.
Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at @TheDaveHooker. Joining us here on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. How do you replace a great running back like Dylan Sampson?
Well, I will say that, I was just doom and gloom about the receivers. I'm not as concerned about that. I really like Dylan Sampson, and you don't say this a lot about running backs, but he was a really good leader too. So I like him a lot, but I think Tennessee might have something special in Peyton Lewis. And I know you didn't see very much of him last year, but I think that they might really have something there, and I think they had no choice basically but to lean on him. I thought he should have played more last year, and I think he'll be a breakout player this year in the SEC.
When we talk about trying to bring guys in the portal, inevitably we talk about NIL money, what's available. Of course, there was always the talk about how much exactly Nico is making in NIL. Where do they stand in NIL compared to these other SEC programs?
Well, I've been told by a source that they're going to reel that in a little bit. That like you would expect with a new coach, you're going to throw a lot of money at the problem, and they did. I mean, Nico's a prime example of that, but nobody over there is hurting for money. I will go ahead and tell you that. So, I think they want to reel it in. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to spend less this year, but you at some point have to have, even if it's your own internal cap, a salary cap. I mean, because it's gone pretty wild. And I'm sure you guys know it's going to be out of the collective's hands. It's going to the university, so it's going to be a straight payment. But I have been told by a source that they're trying to reel that in a little bit and not go overboard. So I think if you come to Tennessee and you perform and you do the right things, you're going to get paid. I'm not so sure they're going to go out and stroke a $2 million check for a guy that hasn't proven anything at the college level.
There's a little bit of pressure on Nico for next year, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure on Nico, especially when we just talked about, he doesn't have the receiving core he had headed into last year, which we thought was going to be exemplary, which underachieved. I think there's pressure on Nico, certainly from a financial standpoint, but there's also pressure on Nico to continue to develop. The game didn't look as easy to him last year as I thought it would, and I know he's a first-time starter, but I think it's fair to ask the question now, if he plays like he played in 2024, if he plays that way next year, is he massively overrated? I mean, I think he was a B player, but you pay $2 million, and the only other guy that's rated ahead of him in recruiting is a guy named Manning. You're expecting more than what Tennessee got next year, and he's likely to leave for the NFL unless he really struggles. So you've got 1 year left.
Yeah, he'll be the Heisman. He may be the Heisman leader going into the season, as far as odds are concerned.
Well, he needs to live up to that,
right?
Because we've had an awful lot of conversations. I'd be interested to look up maybe his odds now. We've had a lot of conversations about how great he is going to be, and my co-host likes to say he was developed in a lab for Josh Heupel's offense, and I tend to agree with that. But it has to all click, and right now everything, the chemicals aren't mixing that great.
You mentioned that, obviously, again, it is all about football, and they really haven't maybe embraced this basketball team yet, which has now been ranked number 1 in the country for quite some time, the only undefeated team. So what kind of, with basketball, when it is this good, what is the feeling around it?
Well, I think that it's in Tennessee sports fans' nature to think about recruiting right after the season. That probably needs to change now that you have the early signing. I'm talking about football recruiting. That probably needs to change now that you have the early signing period, because they're only going to pick up a handful of guys in this second period. So, I think that Tennessee fans were probably a bit more in my camp that you lose Dalton Connect, you're going to take a step back. But I'm now changing that, obviously. And I guess with the ranking, it kind of got beat over my head. But, when you look at Chaz Lanier, when you look at Igor Milicic, you look at some of these guys, I could make a strong argument that I would rather be very good at every position than be elite and have to just turn the ball over to Dalton Connect as they had to do at times last year. So, I think there's some adjusting here, but Tennessee fans will definitely get on board with this basketball program, but it seems like the way the football season ended is kind of throwing them off a little bit.
Well, along that line, Zakai Ziegler, how popular of a guy is he on that campus?
Well, I'll tell you, I criticized him for something a couple of years ago, and I can just tell you that the comments came quite freely. And as far as a beloved athlete, that would be a really interesting question if you went back as far as what was the last athlete that was as beloved as Zakai. You'd have to go back a little bit because he hustles, he's smart. Rick Barnes has said he could run practice by himself if he wanted to. He's kind of got that short guy overachiever thing going for him too. So nothing against short people. But I think that it's interesting you bring that up. I think he's probably one of the most beloved players or athletes in recent memory.
Well, he wasn't that short, but our buddy Dane Bradshaw probably falls into that category as one of the most beloved Vols of all time.
let me just tell you how much I dislike Dane Bradshaw.
Oh,
because
no. Oh, no.
Yes, Dane Bradshaw is a dirty Philadelphia Eagles fan, and I'm a Cowboys fan. So
Okay.
I love doing your all show, but I don't ever want to mention him again. I'm kidding. I absolutely love Dane Bradshaw. He's one of my all-time fans.
I'm a Cowboys fan as well, unfortunately, at times.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't kick it off the segment when
no
you join us.
Dane.
But it is interesting because that's what we, obviously, again, trying to compare somebody to one of the the football players of the past, again, when football is such a big deal. But that's why I was wondering exactly how popular Ziegler is, and it's good to hear that he does get the respect, because what a career he has had for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up Dane. He was very beloved as well, as far as a basketball program. Maybe because you didn't get much time with Dalton, you just got a year.
Yeah.
Maybe you would go back to Dane as far as the last most beloved basketball player. So I would say that a column's coming down the pike on Off the Hook Sports on that topic. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Last thing for you. Look, Rick Barnes is a good coach. I know he's not the most beloved here in Memphis for a number of reasons. He's had a lot of success, but they have not gotten to the Final Four. This year's team, number one, the only undefeated team in the country, there's high expectations. I think he'll pretty much determine when he wants to retire, whenever that is. I don't think this is somebody who's going to be pushed out the door. He's done a lot of good things for Tennessee. But they got to get far, right? They have to really make a run at the title, don't they, with this year's team?
Well, but what's a run? Is an Elite Eight a run?
Final Four.
Is a Final
Four.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it would be an absolute shame if Rick Barnes only had one Final Four trip on his resume, because he's done a fantastic job. And you're right, he's not going to be pushed out. He's doing a great job. But, he either has just turned 70. I think he just turned 70 last year. So you do have to wonder how much longer he wants to do it. But he's a young 70. He's taking care of himself. So I think if you're Tennessee, you want Rick Barnes to be your basketball coach for the next 5 years.
Yes.
A Final Four run would certainly help cement that. And you wonder if they made a Final Four run or won a championship, if that might be the time for Rick Barnes to retire on a high note.
Dave, tell everybody about Off the Hook Sports.
We're just churning content, covering basketball, Tennessee basketball, a lot of recruiting coming up, and a column up recently about Kelsey Pope and why I think Tennessee needs to at least consider a look at that position, and I don't think they'll do so, but I think that's a position of concern.
He's the guy for all your Big Orange news. He's Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports. Follow him on Twitter at the Dave Hooker. We'll talk to you down the road, Dave. Always appreciate it.
All right, brother. Be good.
You too. James Gaddis Jewelers, they're good. They're great. 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. The holidays now in the rearview mirror, but coming up, all kinds of things. Graduation gifts, right? Birthdays, anniversaries. It's almost like you have one every year. And then, of course, people are going to get engaged this year. Whether it be in the spring or the summer, you're looking for that special engagement ring. James Gaddis Jewelers is your bridal engagement and anniversary jeweler headquarters. They got the most beautiful and wide variety of diamond rings, engagement rings, wedding rings, personally designed wedding sets that you'll see anywhere. They also have two full-service jewelers ready, or two bench jewelers ready to serve you, because they are full-service jewelers. In other words, you need a cleaning, you need a resetting of your ring, which I just brought my wife's ring in for a resetting. They can do that for you. They know there's a lot of competition. They make sure they have a price point to suit everyone's budget. So whether it be a $2,500 diamond ring, a $100,000 diamond ring, whatever the case may be, James Gaddis Jewelers has it for you. Check them out at 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com, not just for the diamond rings, but for watches of all types, earrings and pendants and necklaces and bracelets, vintage and antique jewelry as well. James Gaddis Jewelers. Check them out online at gaddisjewelers.com.
Well, I wanted to get his answer for the trivia question, because I was just thinking, he's based on who he likes and who he covers, I'm wondering if he's actually wrong. He's got a wrong answer for the trivia question. But the trivia question again was, who holds the NFL record for most catches in a season by a tight end. And I was thinking that he might think it's Jason Witten based on he covers Tennessee, he's a Cowboys fan, all that. Jason Witten is not the correct answer. We had some others that guessed Jason Witten as well.
So we're still waiting for a correct answer.
No, we've got a correct
answer. Oh, we do have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is not some of the other likely guys that you would go with.
So it's not Gonzalez.
It is not Tony Gonzalez.
Is it Gates?
It is not Antonio Gates.
Okay.
It is not Gronk. We had a lot of Gronks. It is not Kelsey.
Wow.
We had a lot of Kelseys. And also, based on the conversation we just had, he will not like the correct answer to begin with. They would not like the correct answer.
So he's a Cowboys fan, right? Is that what he said?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be either an Eagle. Who would it be for the Eagles if it was an Eagle? Is it an Eagle? It's not Keith Jackson, is it?
It is an Eagle, but it's not Keith Jackson. Do you know this one, Elijah?
I do. I actually saw this graphic yesterday.
Who is it?
It is Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz?
That is correct.
Wow.
2018, 116 catches. The former Ole Miss Rebel, Evan Ingram, last year almost broke the record. He is actually second with 114. And then Brock Bowers this year with his 112 is now third on that list. All right. I do need you to break a tie here, Elijah. We had a number of correct answers. There were two of them were faster than the others. So we've got to break a tie between two of them. So, Elijah, Simon or Garfunkel?
My sister loves these guys. Got to go Garfunkel. Got to go with the fun answer.
Okay. You're going Garfunkel. All right. Well, we will be contacting our winner and letting you know how to get your prize, and we'll be taking care of you. But yes, Zach Ertz, 118 catches. I'm going to guess that there's a good chance Brock Bowers ends up breaking that record during his career.
I think there's a great chance. I would have guessed probably 10 to 15 tight ends before I got to Zach Ertz. That was a tough question, at least in my opinion. When we come back, we're talking NFL. We got college football as well. Coming up in hour 3, we'll talk more college football with Blake Topmeyer. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We're talking about playoffs. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New DraftKings customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code HERD, H-E-R-D. New customers get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
You know, I think people forget there's a Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
And that's on us.
Well, you.
What does that mean?
Well, you're the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. It's your responsibility to remind people there's a Central Barbecue in South Haven.
It's very convenient that I'm the spokesperson when there's responsibility to be taken.
Just mention the Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
I got a lot to remember. There's the location on Butler downtown. There's a location on Summer, on Poplar.
And Getwell Road in South Haven. How hard is that?
I've heard you call yourself a spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
No, it was just to pick up chicks.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. A couple of minor accidents out here up to this point. Still moving over here on 240 East and West at Poplar. This time of the morning, it's normally heavier than what it is right now on 40 westbound from Germantown Parkway all the way to Sycamore View Road. Coming inbound on Sam Cooper. That actually looks pretty good as we check it out live over here up by Perkins. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. Check out the animals that are up for adoption right now by logging on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So a lot of NFL coaching news that's out there, more so speculation than anything concrete. But according to ESPN, the Bears have requested permission to interview Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy.
Yes, please, let them do it.
And are awaiting a response from Dallas.
I speak for the Cowboys here. Yes, you can do it. Please, interview him. Hire him.
I don't get it with the Bears.
Well, think it. They don't like they asked for, but they don't even. They could just wait for a few days. His contract expires on what day the exact date is, but like they don't. They could just wait a couple days. They don't need permission.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't want that information out there, but it got out there in case anybody else was interested in McCarthy. But will there be? There are 5, and that's assuming that Dallas and Jerry Jones doesn't re-sign him. But right now, not counting Dallas, there are 5 openings in the NFL. The Bears, the Patriots, who fired Gerard Mayo on Sunday, the Saints, who fired Dennis Allen mid-season, the Jets fired Robert Saleh and then had their interim guy who's not being retained, and then the Jags, who fired Doug Peterson yesterday. How would you list those in order of preference? If you were a coach out there and you could coach any of those teams, give me your order in which you would jump at the opportunity.
Jacksonville should be the most attractive. Now, they will not fire Trent Baalke for whatever reason at GM, but
why is it most attractive to you? The division they play in?
The division they play in, and you have a quarterback in place.
The great Mac Jones. No, I'm kidding.
I would put probably see, the thing is, like, the Patriots, you've already drafted your young quarterback and you got a high draft pick, so that is attractive. However, you're in that division with Buffalo, and that's not easy right now because Buffalo is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Got a great owner in Robert Kraft.
The Bears, again, you've drafted your quarterback, got some pieces there, but you look at that division, what it is right now, it is absolutely brutal within that division right now.
Do you think the Bears front office is dysfunctional? Do you think there's any problems there?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think, again, I've said before, Poles has like zero personality, and I don't know, but I like the moves they made. Like, again, bringing in the guys they brought in around Caleb Williams, and I don't have a problem with them drafting him number one. So I think they still need some pieces, and they got to get the right coach. But you look at that division, you're just like, my gosh, like you're walking into a tough situation just in your division. Saints are in a great division. And
there's nothing in the cupboard.
They've got some pieces.
Oh, come on.
I mean, Kamara will be gone most likely. Derek Carr, we'll have to see what the Derek Carr situation is, all of that. But
I think it's light. It's very light.
But I wouldn't necessarily mind the Saints situation. And then who's the other one?
The Jets.
The Jets I want no part of. That place is
It's too high profile?
That place is a disaster. That organization is a train wreck.
You don't like your owner wearing a big old gold chain around his neck at age 75, 80, whatever he is?
That place is an absolute train wreck. I wouldn't touch that place if I had the options of the others. Like the others, if you gave me the option of all those, they would be so far last because they need a lot to figure things out.
All right, so who are the likely candidates to claim these 5 jobs? I don't think there's any question that in the end, Mike Vrabel has a job more than likely with the Patriots. I think he's one that you could put down and bet on it.
Yeah, Vrabel will have a job. Ben Johnson he'll have the option to take a job. Now, he could stay in Detroit like he did last year.
Will Aaron Glenn have a job? He deserves a job.
Aaron Glenn could very well. But again, may elect to stay in Detroit. There's a lot of talk with him with the Saints. There's also Joe Brady to the Saints. Obviously, his ties with what he did at LSU. Those seem to be the 2 guys that get mentioned most with the Saints. And so if Brady were to get that, does Aaron Glenn then get another job, or does he end up wanting to stay in Detroit for another year and see what opens up or whatever?
Is Pete Carroll a possibility?
I guess he's a possibility because teams do. There are teams will recycle old coaches,
especially if they won. Especially if they were successful.
So certainly, I would say he is a possibility somewhere.
Speaking of recycled coaches, Matt Nagy will interview with the Jets. They're interviewing everybody, by the way.
Yeah, some of these I like. Matt, I don't know how you could possibly interview Matt. Why you would be interviewing Matt Nagy? You couldn't. How in the hell are you going to try and sell a hire of Matt Nagy to your fan base after the disaster he was in Chicago? Like, there's no way.
Who's next? Matt Eberflus?
There's no way you could sell that one.
Can you sell Rex Ryan?
Yes, because he's the last one to win with the Jets.
You can.
Like, you won.
Do you hear what he said? I mean, obviously, he's going to be very vocal. He thinks he has a great chance to get the job.
I'm sure there's still Jets fans that would love, we're like, he's the last guy that won. Like, we did something. We went to the playoffs. We went to AFC championship games. Yes, please bring Rex Ryan back.
And what was the comment he made yesterday? If they do retain Aaron Rodgers, that he won't get any of that country club, whatever, treatment?
Yeah, I mean, it was country club was the term he used. Basically, I guess probably we won't go get every one of his friends.
We won't give him any passes. Although, when it comes to working hard, he works hard. But
they certainly need to pull the plug on Aaron Rodgers and just start over. Like it clearly isn't working with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what the purpose of the Jets going one more year with Aaron Rodgers is going to be. They're not going to become good all of a sudden. So they just need to start the rebuild process.
So you're probably looking at a veteran quarterback who's a free agent because they're not going to be in the Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward sweepstakes, I don't believe. Do you know where the Jets are picking, Elijah?
I'll find that out.
They're not high enough to get.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They have to trade up.
You're not going to
trade up if they wanted to.
And they tried the young quarterback when they drafted Zach Wilson, and they tried Aaron Rodgers. Nothing seems to work. Woody Johnson, though, I would not be surprised if he kept Aaron Rodgers for another year. But if he doesn't, then Kirk Cousins, I assume, is going to be released by Atlanta. Do they go with some type of veteran? And what's going to happen with Minnesota with the whole Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, Daniel Jones situation? What do we got for the
Because
Jets.
they won that last game, the Jets are picking 7th.
Yeah, those quarterbacks will be gone. Even though I don't know if they're top 10 quarterbacks, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a top 10 quarterback in this draft. They may prove me wrong. But for the Jets, I don't know. I don't know what direction you would go in.
Maybe the Jets could bring back Rex Ryan and Sam Darnold. Well, reunite everybody who used to play for the Jets.
Well, they've interviewed Riddick for the general manager position. Mike Tannenbaum, who used to be their president, right, GM, he's being used as a consultant. They've interviewed Rex Ryan. Now they've interviewed a guy named Mike Greenberg. No, it's not the guy from ESPN whose favorite team is the Jets. It might as well be. Everybody from ESPN gets an interview, but it's another Mike Greenberg. So, yeah, I think the Jets are a real curious situation. I think that one is more curious than anyone. I think the Patriots will end up with Vrabel. Chicago, I don't know. I really don't. But it's very attractive with Caleb Williams at quarterback. The Jags and the Saints.
Chicago
Good
needs,
luck.
Chicago needs, if they could get Ben Johnson, that would be great for them.
Yes, it would.
With the young quarterback, the pieces they have offensively. I just don't know whether he would want to go there, especially in that division. So I have no idea what his thinking is. But again, he had chances last year and he elected to stay in Detroit. So he might like where he is, but maybe there is a job in this group that he does like, and maybe it would be that with that situation with what they have offensively.
And there's no rhyme or reason to an offensive guy or a defensive guy. I mean, the Jags had an offensive guy in Peterson. It didn't work out. But the Jets originally had Saleh going into the year. He was a defensive guy. Didn't work out. Patriots had Mayo. He didn't work out. Dennis Allen, defensive guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't work out. And the Bears with Eberflus. Eberflus was a what? Offense or defense coordinator?
He was defense.
Yeah, so there you go. These defensive guys.
Defense. Yeah, I believe he was defense.
Defensive guys are not working out, but you did have an offensive guy in Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. So we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. Also, Zeke Elliott, your boy, signed by the Chargers to their practice squad.
Yeah, that the Cowboys let him go just because he wanted an opportunity to possibly see if he could catch on with somebody for the playoffs. And Chargers are going to take a look at him on the practice squad. And certainly, I mean, again, he's a guy who could still do some short yardage stuff and be somewhat valuable in that. But, yeah, I don't whether he'll actually get a chance to play with them in the playoffs. Who knows?
But he is eligible now to be activated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can play the playoffs. They wouldn't be signing if he couldn't. It'd be a really worthless sign at this point for Ezekiel Elliott on your practice squad if you couldn't play this season.
Well, I didn't know if they were signing him to have him on for next year. I didn't know how that worked, what the length of the contract is. I thought they were jumping on him because maybe they thought there'd be a lot of teams out there looking for his services for next year as a backup running back, and they wanted to grab him now.
Somebody texts in and says, "Why? Can you explain why they will not hire Eric Bieniemy or Marcus Freeman or any other college head coach?" You know, Freeman was one that has been mentioned. I don't think he wants to go to the NFL. I don't know. I don't know Marcus Freeman at all, but I think he feels probably pretty good with the position he's got at Notre Dame. I mean, Eric Bieniemy now, after getting the 1 year at UCLA and he got let go there as offensive coordinator, I think Eric Bieniemy should have gotten a chance years ago in the NFL. Now he's kind of completely out of that NFL mix whatsoever, and in that whole circle. So, any other college coaches, I don't know who they would be.
Well, Bieniemy didn't he just get hired for a new job in college?
He might have. He got fired at UCLA. I don't know where he ended up out of that. But again, he is out of the NFL circles.
Washington. He's joining the Washington Huskies coaching staff as an offensive analyst. I was one of those guys on this show that was screaming, why not Eric Bieniemy? Why not? And then after he kept interviewing and not getting jobs, I started to think to myself, two things. One, he's a terrible interviewer or interviewee. And number two, that they came to the conclusion that Eric Bieniemy was just there. He wasn't really the mainstay. It was always Andy Reid. And it's understandable when people want to go in that direction.
Except for that logic didn't apply because all of his other offensive coordinators kept getting jobs.
Well, whatever.
Like Matt Nagy, who's now getting another interview.
Well, then I go back to the first reason, which, again, I'm only speculating, but he must be a terrible interview. Because how does a guy with those credentials not get the opportunity when everybody and their mom does? And I don't understand. And now he's back in college, or he's in college at Washington, not even a head coach, as an offensive analyst. So I couldn't tell you about Bieniemy. As far as Freeman is concerned, I don't know. I mean, he's still extremely young in his tenure as a head coach at Notre Dame. That's a pretty good a pretty good institution, right? That's to be the head coach of Notre Dame is pretty darn good.
I know nothing about him, but so maybe once Notre Dame loses or they win the championship or whatever, maybe that there is talk. I don't know. I would think that he probably wants to stay in college, but I have no idea.
As far as any other college coaches out there right now, I wouldn't have a guess as to who makes sense. I would think
Sarkisian is a name that has come up as
Major Applewhite again, Sarkisian.
That some of these NFL teams might take a look at him.
Yeah.
But again, he's the head coach at Texas, for goodness sake. It's a pretty good gig. I don't know.
Well, again, Kingsbury with the Commanders, who was a former coach, somebody may take a shot at him again, but it failed the first time around. Kingsbury could be a name. You're right about Sark. His name is surfaced. But like I said about Freeman with Notre Dame, Sark in Texas, you're getting paid handsomely. You're the head guy at a very well-known and well-respected institution. More than likely, you go to the NFL, you're going to an organization that is in trouble, right? That's why the coaching change happened. And who knows, with the short fuse that owners now have, Gerard Mayo getting 1 year in New England, that is it worth leaving, bringing the family, uprooting the family again and going somewhere else? It may not be in the cards for those type of coaches. They may be very happy where they are.
Yeah, again, with all these college coaches, there is that chance that they don't like the situation in college anymore. Like we've seen a lot of these veteran coaches just get out of it. I don't know. I don't know if that applies to Freeman or Sarkisian, or if they're very happy with where they are and what they are doing. I have no idea.
Well, for the programs that have the money, they have all these general managers now and analysts and guys that could take care of recruiting and guys that could take care of NIL. And there's so many people that they now have on their staff to do these type of things. It's not as complicated for them at the highest level than it is for those at smaller levels. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up hour 2. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You know, I think people forget there's a Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
And that's on us.
Well, you.
What does that mean?
Well, you're the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. It's your responsibility to remind people there's a Central Barbecue in South Haven.
It's very convenient that I'm the spokesperson when there's responsibility to be taken.
Just mention the Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
I got a lot to remember. There's the location on Butler downtown. There's a location on Summer, on Poplar.
And Getwell Road in South Haven. How hard is that?
I've heard you call yourself a spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
No, it was just to pick up chicks.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to HIMSS.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to HIMSS.com/joy.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
One other thing about McCarthy and Dallas, Jerry Jones seems like the kind of guy that, knowing that Chicago wants to interview McCarthy, that he probably feels like, no, I don't want him to leave Dallas, go to Chicago, turn around the Bears, because that'll be egg in my face. I will instead be stern about it and spiteful about it, and I will re-sign him. That's what I think he'll do.
I have no idea what Jerry is going to do in this situation. I know what I hope he does, and I know what I think he will end up doing, but I don't think Chicago's interest in McCarthy has anything to do with it.
You don't think so?
I think he's already made up his mind one way or another, but maybe more conversation with McCarthy could change that, but I don't know.
Yeah, he just, again, I don't know the guy from Adam, but he seems like the kind of guy that I'm not going to let somebody grab my discarded coach, turn around their franchise, and it's egg in my face because it didn't work out in Dallas. We'll see. Great news for Brent Rooker, friend of the show, from the Sacramento A's. The A's have agreed with Brent and his agent on a 5-year, $60 million extension. The deal also includes a vesting option that could take it to 6 years and $90 million. How about that?
Great for him. That's awesome. You know, the A's are actually spending a little bit of money this offseason. And certainly he deserves to be well paid by them for the last couple of years that he's had for Oakland. So good for him.
What, their expenditures will be cheaper in Sacramento than they were in Oakland? Where's all the money coming from now that they decided to spend after 1,000 years?
I have no idea why they are doing it, but they're actually spending a little bit of money. Still not a ton, but I think they said that their payroll is going to be up close to $100 million now.
Yeah, they've spent a lot in the last couple of weeks. The Cardinals, in the meantime, are trying to trade Nolan Arenado, and those talks with teams remain stalled. So that'll have some impact right now on what they can and cannot do. Before too long, guys will be heading down to Florida or out to Arizona for spring training. But Nolan Arenado right now still technically on this Cardinals roster, but nobody believes he'll be playing with the Cardinals in 2025.
I think there's probably a pretty good chance at this point he starts the season with them. And
you think so?
Might have to end up being a deadline deal.
Because it's too late? It's just getting too late?
Yeah, I mean, I think if a team was going to be trading for him, they probably would have gotten it done by now. There still could be somebody, and there could be something that, some team gets to spring training and realizes a spot or something that they would, or a guy gets injured, something like that. But, some young guy isn't performing the way they thought. But I would think maybe there's a better chance that you just wait till the regular season starts and see what kind of opens up elsewhere, and maybe ends up being a deal in season.
I know last night you were doing your watching of, what was the Homeland? What was the name of the show?
Landman.
So you started watching Landman. So I assume you did not take a peek at the FCS championship on ESPN?
I was watching the Grizzlies during that game, so I did not see that. No, I did not watch any of it.
Okay, well, I was peeking over at that college football game because I had vested interest in it. North Dakota State defeats Montana State 35-32. Montana State was 15-0 going in. Number one, undefeated. North Dakota State had 2 losses, I believe. North Dakota State got out to a 14-0 lead. They hang on, they win 35-32. North Dakota State wins their 10th title in 14 seasons. You talk about a dynasty.
Pretty good program.
That is a hell of a program. North Dakota State, which has Trey Lance's brother on the roster.
How about that?
Used to have, of course, Trey Lance. But
where do they play that game?
That game was played in Texas. Elijah, can you double check on, was it played in Frisco, where I just was for the Tigers bowl game, the Frisco Bowl? Or it may have been played, it was somewhere in Texas. They were not going to have that game played up there in Dakota or Montana in that weather. But I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, it was in Texas. But that is an absolute dynasty. 10 titles in 14 years. And now you're seeing these players more so than at the start of the transfer portal. These players from 1AA, but specifically the North Dakota States, the South Dakota States, the Montana States, finding ways to big-time or bigger Division I programs where they are able to cash in on NIL. These are good. A lot of these guys are good players.
It is was it Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas?
There you go.
15th time it's been played there.
I had no idea.
Frisco.
I had no idea. I thought just a couple of years. I thought they were playing at the higher seed for years past. But the weather certainly dictates that. But they didn't have to worry about the weather. Although this week they're worried about the weather. We're supposed to get some snow Thursday night into Friday. Dallas is also possibly in line for some white stuff. And the question is, could it affect Friday night's Cotton Bowl? Right?
Well, it wouldn't affect the game. I mean, the game's indoors.
No. Affecting travel, affecting fans.
Obviously that, but yeah.
They're talking about the possibility of that game actually being moved to maybe Saturday. No, the game itself, obviously not, but the infrastructure and everything else that goes. Dallas is probably not as bad as Memphis. There's probably no city as bad as Memphis when it comes to really bad weather. We get a lot of snow. We're shut down for a while. Dallas is pretty bad as well. So we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. We're going to talk about the Cotton Bowl. We will talk about the Orange Bowl as well. That'll be coming up at 9:25 when Blake Topmeyer joins us from USA Today Network. But when we come back, we open up Hour 3. We'll get back into what we opened the show with, talking some Grizzlies and other stuff as well. Opening up the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines to you at 901-360-8255.
Buddy Ceccolina says he believes that game is moving to Vanderbilt Stadium next year for good.
Really?
Nashville gets it all.
They're going to move it from Frisco to Vanderbilt?
That's what he said he believes.
Well, you could have weather issues there. I guess they'll feel more at home because every year it's North Dakota State and one of those teams.
Yeah, so we were talking about North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. Like there's no weather that can affect their game.
No.
They're like, how do we play in warm weather? Like, wait, we need to get us into cold weather. That's the only thing we know how to play in. What the hell is this warm stuff?
Yeah, God forbid they had the game in Florida or something like that. It's like, we can't deal with that.
Could you get some artificial snow on the field for us? That's what we're used to.
We'll take a time. I'll come back with Hour 3. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South. The size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Total membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for a limited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun, 2770 Whitten Road, TopGunMemphis.com. Always ship with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even foosball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers in? Family Leisure has theaters selling up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool season. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery
John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Well, there's some things about the Rendezvous I want to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for seats and more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. But we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear. Please listen carefully for our menu restraint. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of the mother's maiden name, dial it now. Come see us at the Rendezvous. Since 1948, the Rendezvous.
Tiger fans, don't miss the action when Memphis men's basketball welcomes East Carolina to FedEx Forum Saturday, January 11th. The Tigers will tip off against the Pirates in an American Conference matchup at 1 o'clock as we celebrate Kids Day with face painters, balloon artists, and a halftime baby race. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and support your Tigers at FedEx Forum in a big-time matchup that you do not want to miss. Memphis and East Carolina, Saturday, January 11th at 1 o'clock. Get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Clearing up a couple of wrecks we had out here a little bit earlier. It's trying to build with a little bit more volume on 385 Bill Morris Parkway coming inbound as you come past Riverdale. Still a little bit crowded at times. Certain sections of Sam Cooper working your way inbound. There's still some volume coming off that ramp there from Austin P onto I-40. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, conveniently located at 7525 Highway 64. They want you to know they are your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56.
Hour number 3 here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. And thank you for listening, folks. 29 degrees. It'll get up to 35 today. That's it. Cloudy skies. Got a little bit of snow falling, more like flurries than tonight. Cloudy, 24 degrees for your low. Tomorrow will be sunny, but only 34 degrees for a high. Third hour of the program brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More, located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake, Mississippi. You also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas. Family owned and operated that specializes in flooring and carpeting. SPC, WPC vinyls, which are top-of-the-line, scratch-resistant, waterproof. Ceramic and porcelain tiles, all styles, all sizes. Hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, plantation shutters, blinds, and so much more. They sell it wholesale, skip the middleman, save you lots of money in the process. Go see them. They will take care of you if you can't do it yourself. You're not a do-it-yourself homeowner or a contractor out there. You can get Jenkins Services. They will come to you. They'll give you a free estimate, and they'll get the job done in less than 2 weeks. That's their promise to you. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that? Stop by or call them at 662-469-9350. Open Monday through Saturday. Financing is always available at Jenkins Floors and More.
So we talked earlier about watching new shows. Will you be watching the Golf League tonight?
I was going to ask you about that. TGL, Tomorrow Golf League. I am not going to watch 1 second of it. I just don't. I don't even get it. It's on the computer, right? I mean, it's on the simulator.
Somewhat on the simulator.
Somewhat.
It's kind of a combination.
Now,
the short game will not be on the simulator.
Okay, so I looked at the teams, the teams comprised of all the biggest names. There's ownership of the 6 teams, and it's big time owners. big time owners. I mean, the owners of the Red Sox. So there's a lot of money invested. And I'm thinking, why is it so expensive? Are they? How much are they paying these players?
Well, they had first of all, the build of the facility is, I'm sure, was crazy. There's a ton of technology here. They have, obviously, I'm sure they're paying the players quite well in order to do this. I mean, with the names of players that you're talking about, I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of money that took.
So the players that are participating tonight are not in the field at the Sony in Hawaii? Or they're leaving after? I mean, this is live, right? This isn't tape stuff, is it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's live or taped. I assume it's live, but I don't know for sure. But, I mean, they could easily fly out there afterwards.
I'm not real curious about this, but if all of a sudden the reaction is really positive online, then I'll check it out the next time. Do you know what days? Is it Tuesday, just Tuesday?
Yeah, it's every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
15-week season, and then
so about 3 months.
And then there's the playoffs afterwards.
3.5 months.
Tonight is New York Golf Club with Matthew Fitzpatrick, Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, and Cameron Young, taking on Bay GC with Ludwig Oberg, Wyndham Clark, Shane Lowry, and Minwoo Lee.
Yeah, I think Steph Curry's part of that ownership team.
It's a 15-hole match. First 9 holes are alternate shot, and then the last 6 are individual matchups.
Why 15 holes?
It's all done to get it in a 2-hour window.
Okay.
It's they've got a 40-second shot clock that they're going to be that's in place. They've got, but yeah, they'll hit into the simulator, and then I like playing on simulators. I think it's fun. The technology has gotten so good now. But like for their second shots, they'll be hitting off actual grass, or they'll be hitting out of rough, and then the short game area or sand, whatever. Like the sand is actually the same sand they have at Augusta National.
What?
And then the short game area.
No wonder it costs so much.
The short game area is a green that can be it's changed. They're constantly, it can change the slope to whatever. That's what I'm saying. I can't even imagine the amount of money would put into building this facility. And then they've got some of these holes are like crazy designed holes, like bizarre stuff designed by like Jack Nicklaus and stuff. But
so it won't be a course. It won't be like they're playing the old course at St. Andrews.
No, they're going to be, I think, some like regular holes. I don't know if they'll be actually from golf courses or what, but there's like one of the holes I was looking at is a hole that is in an active or is in a volcano.
What?
Like there's bizarre stuff like that of some of these holes. Again, they were designed by some famous, I think, designers and stuff like that, but they're going to have some of that type stuff.
Will they be drinking beer and eating food like most of us do at a simulator?
The putting surface sits on a series of 567 hydraulic jacks to create countless different slopes and undulations, has 7 cup placements, rotates 360 degrees to change the angle of approach for each hole.
Where is the facility at? Do you know? It's got to be in Florida somewhere, I would imagine.
Yeah, I believe it's in Florida. Palm Beach, Palm Beach Gardens. That's right, because I saw them down there the other day. Palm Beach Gardens.
I don't know. I mean, you got me a little bit more curious with all this strangeness to it, but I think I'll wait, see what the reaction is. I guess it all depends on my options. What else is on?
Yeah, they've got they talk about some of the holes that are in here. There's a there is no holes from existing courses. It's 30 new holes from 3 designers that can be played in any order.
That's pretty wild. But again,
they also have the hammer, which I love because when we play golf, we play with the hammer. You can hammer on any hole, which doubles the value of the hole, but the other team can drop and concede the hole, which is, I'm sure a lot of folks out there play golf have played in golf matches where you use the hammer. They have the hammer in this as well.
Never heard of the hammer. Number 2, you don't want to make this really gimmicky, do you? I don't know how you're going to get. What's by the way? Who's airing it?
ESPN.
Oh, well, that's strong to have ESPN airing it. But think about it. What do you got going on? There's college basketball. I'm going to get to that in a second. NBA. Grizzlies aren't playing it. I'm talking about for local. It's actually in a good time, I think, on a Tuesday night. Good day.
I'm sure I will. I'm going to watch it tonight. I actually think and these isn't the guys playing tonight aren't the best as far as trash talking goes, but I think although Ricky Fowler could get some good stuff maybe going, but I think the trash talking in this, because I assume they'll all be mic'd up and you'll be able to hear everything. I don't know. We'll have to wait and again, I don't know exactly, but I'm assuming you'll be able to hear everything. So I think there could be some good trash talking that goes on, especially when you get some of the matchups, when you get a Tiger versus somebody and the Justin Thomases and these people. I think you could get some great trash talk going on.
They're going to have their caddies bring them food and beer.
I have no idea if there will be caddies there or not. I assume there probably will not be.
This is going to be weird. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to wait, see what the reaction is, and go from there. College basketball tonight, we were talking earlier with Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports about Tennessee. Tennessee, number one in the nation. Still number one after the rankings came out yesterday. The only undefeated team, 14-0. They'll be in Gainesville tonight to take on number 8 Florida. 13-1. Florida lost their first game in that high-scoring affair at Rupp on Saturday. So this could be interesting tonight. The Gators trying to avoid an 0-2 start in SEC play.
Yeah, you got Florida, who's one of the best offensive teams in the nation, against Tennessee, who is the best defensive team in the nation. So it's, again, Florida played that game where 100 points wasn't enough to win it. So against Kentucky, see what they're able to score against, again, Tennessee, who's every year great defensively, but this year, they're, I think, 4 points better per 100%, something like that, than anybody else in the nation. They're really, really good. Actually, no, I take that back. They have fallen to number 2 in defense. Who has passed them? Houston. Oh, Houston played. Didn't Houston play last night?
They played last night.
And held somebody to nothing.
TCU.
It was like they barely scored against them. So they have now moved into first in defensive efficiency.
Yeah, 65-46 last night, Houston over TCU. Also tonight, you got Kentucky at Georgia in the SEC. You have Auburn at Texas. So number 2 Auburn at Texas. Texas just got beat by 20 by Texas A&M. Mississippi State travels to Vanderbilt. And then other games around the nation that are worthwhile. I think the Arizona-West Virginia game will be interesting. Arizona's not ranked, but they're starting to get hot. West Virginia is ranked. And I was thinking to myself, this is one Arizona's going to win. I looked down at the spread. Of course, Vegas, they're always on top of it. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but Arizona 3.5-point favorite on the road, and they're the unranked team.
So Florida is number 3 offensively in the nation. They average 124 points per 100 possessions. Tennessee gives up 87 points per 100 possessions. So
wow.
Something's got to give.
As they say. Memphis moved up to number 19 in the AP poll. For those who did not see that, they jumped 2 spots from 21, and they move up from 25 to 20 in the coaches poll. So Memphis will go into this weekend, number 19 in the AP, number 20 in the coaches poll. Football recruiting. I'm going to get back into the Grizzlies here in just a second, but football recruiting, University of Memphis. We had Brian Moss on last week from Rivals. At that time, he had Memphis, well, not he, but Rivals had him didn't they drop to 5 when he was on? Went from 4 to 5. Well, now they are up to number 3. The transfer portal class up to number 3 in Rivals, the University of Memphis. Yesterday, they landed former Germantown cornerback Cody Jones, headed to Memphis after 3 years at Michigan. And as we mentioned yesterday on the air, it happened while we were on the air, the former Louisville wide receiver who started out at Cincinnati, Jaden Thompson, also going to the University of Memphis. So a lot of these guys, I'll say most of these guys I'm unfamiliar with. Some of them I am familiar with, but this class, which is now very large on paper, the experts believe it's a very good one for Memphis. And Memphis has done really, really well in the portal. But there are a lot of holes that they have to fill, a lot of areas of concern. The linebacking core basically all gone. They've gone out and they've added some receivers. They got to add some speed. That's what they've done. They got a quarterback from Nevada to go along with their Antoine Hill, 4-star high school quarterback that's coming in, and those that still remain on the roster. So Memphis, again, according to Rivals, doing extremely well at number 3. We mentioned to start the show, we talked about it. The Grizzlies win over Dallas last night, 119-104 to improve to 24-13. There was no Luka, there was no Kyrie Irving for for Dallas. There was no John Morant, no Des Bane for the Grizzlies. But there was one star remaining. I guess you can call Klay Thompson a star, but a fading star. But you had Jaren Jackson Jr. And Jaren Jackson Jr., as I said earlier, is getting better by the game. 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block. He is becoming almost unstoppable. Jalen Wells had a great game, a double-double. He got 13 rebounds from Jitty, John Conchar. Scottie Pippen Jr. had a good game. Kennard was back, and he came off the bench, had a nice game, as did the big guy, Huff. So you had a lot of guys contributing, which has been really the story of this team this season. But Jaren Jackson Jr. right now is on a different planet. And while he will not get the votes to make the NBA All-Star team as a starter, I can't imagine the staff, the coaching staff, not selecting him as an alternate, a reserve on this team, especially with the Grizzlies being one of the better teams in the Western Conference. This is Jaren Jackson Jr.'s year to this point, and I think he should be rewarded, and hopefully he will be.
I don't think there's any doubt that he will be.
Really? No doubt? The way they screw things around in the NBA?
No,
with all favorites and big names?
I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that he will make it. I was looking interesting. Jalen Wells right now, which is crazy, has the 4th best odds to win Rookie of the Year. He's at plus 750. Now, the problem is if the Grizzlies do make a trade for a wing that would knock Jalen Wells out of the starting lineup. But right now, Jalen Wells at plus 750 is not a bad bet because
not at all.
I mean, this rookie class isn't doing a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of candidates out there.
Who are the top rookies right now?
I think right now, if you were picking a Rookie of the Year right now, I would pick Jalen Wells.
I think I would too. I mean, Zach Edey's been really good.
Like Zach Edey has the lowest odds, but Jalen Wells has been better than Zach Edey.
He has. Who else around the league? Elijah, who else? Rookies, because there's a number of rookies that just are not getting playing time.
Like Sarr is at the 2nd best odds right now. Messi is 3rd, and then Wells at 4th. Then you go down to Stephon Castle. I actually think Castle plus 1,200 might be a good bet. I could see him coming on, and he's been playing a little bit better. But it's hard because this rookie class. Well, and what's it? The dude for Houston, who everybody was the favorite at one point coming in the year, they just sent him down to the G League.
Oh yeah, Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, Reed Shepherd. This rookie class is just not. There's not much happening with this rookie class at all.
What do you think, Elijah?
Well, you got Dalton Connect in LA too, who could make some noise, I think, still. Tristan Da Silva, with all the injuries in Orlando, has gotten a lot more burn, and he's really come on strong. You've got Bub Carrington in Washington as well. So I think you've got some guys in the second half of the season, especially on some tanking teams that can get more minutes.
Well, those guys in Washington, that's the thing. Like, they're scary because you know they're going to be playing. Like, they're unlike, again, I mean, Jalen Wells' minutes could go down in the second half if they make a move and bring somebody in. All of a sudden, he's not starting anymore, where those guys for Washington, they don't care. They're going to be playing all the time.
All right, let me ask you this. The Western Conference, I haven't seen if it's been updated since the first one, but the first voting results that came out, it was Jokic 1, Durant 2, James 3, Anthony Davis 4, Victor Wembanyama 5, Alperen Şengün from the Rockets 6, Jalen Williams, who's been great for the Thunder, 7. Okay, then Jaren Jackson Jr. is down at number 10. There's only 12 spots, which I think is horrible. They should have 15 spots. I know there'd be arguments about who the 16th guy is, but I think those 3 spots in each conference would help alleviate some of the problems. So let's just go on this, which I think, I don't know, LeBron will probably pass Durant. Jokic, let's just go with Jokic and LeBron James as the starters. Well, there would be three of them, right? Jokic, we 2 guards and 3 forwards, right? So you'd have 3 front court guys. Jokic, Durant, James. That's 3, okay? Davis is on, right? That's 4. Wembanyama's on it. That's 5. Are you going to deny Şengün? Might come down to him and Jackson. And Jalen Williams, what do you do with him with the year he's having for Oklahoma City? Then you have your guards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving is 4th, Anthony Edwards 5th. Again, we're talking about starters here, but there'll only be 7 reserves picked. So who would be left out? That's the problem. I think Jackson absolutely deserves, but I'm never going to say it's a guarantee, not with these coaches and the way they lean a lot towards firepower, big names, stars. Curry's going to be on the team, even if he doesn't make it as a starter. SGA is going to be on the team. Doncic is going to be on the team. Edwards is going to be on the team. That's 4 right there. You're not going to have 8 front court guys.
You could.
I guess you could, but...
Because the reserves are 3 and 2, and then there's 2 wild cards. It could be anything.
Yeah, but I would think that right now, would you go take the local bias out of the picture? Would you go Şengün or Jackson?
I'd have to look at Şengün's numbers. I'm not sure exactly what his numbers are. I mean, Houston certainly, with the way they are, where they are, Houston's going to get, in all likelihood, will get somebody. There's a good chance they'll get somebody on there, and he would be the most likely.
And then Jalen Williams or Jaren. That's close too. But
I would take Jaren.
Okay.
Because they're already going to have SGA on the team anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight. He deserves a spot, but it's going to be it's going to be tight. That's why I always say I never say there's a no-brainer that he's on there, because the tendency for a coach to go with like a Kyrie Irving. He's not having the season Jaren Jackson Jr. is having, but he's a big name. Would they go with James Harden? Again, these big name guys always seem to get the benefit of the doubt. How about Devin Booker? Is Booker going to get on there from Phoenix? If Durant makes it, does Booker make it as well? So it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out in the end.
Folks, if you are thinking about lunch or dinner or even breakfast, where you can find great food, and that is Elwood's Shack. If you've been there, you know about the great food they have and just amazing amount of choices that they have on that lunch and dinner menu. But they also do serve breakfast at both locations from 7 a.m. until 10:30 Monday through Saturday. Sunday they open up at 8. Saturday and Sunday also they have a special additional brunch menu that's available from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. From their barbecue breakfast burrito or the French toast or the avocado toast or the Hungry Man's breakfast, all kinds of great items on that breakfast menu. At the Park Avenue location, they've got a full coffee bar as well, serving Jay Brooks fresh coffee beans from right here in Memphis. They've got a cappuccino machine. They've got whatever it is that you want, from frappuccino teas, cappuccinos, lattes, all of that. Full coffee bar. That's at the Park Avenue location of Elwood Shack. And again, when it comes to lunch and dinner, the breakfast is the menu is absolutely amazing with so many different things to choose from, whether you're looking for some barbecue, maybe their fish tacos, one of their many choices of hot dogs or burgers or even pizza. Unbelievable selection and all delicious at Elwood's Shack. 2 locations. They've got the original, that's at 4523 Summer Avenue, which is in the Lowe's parking lot there at Summer and Perkins. And then you've got the newer of the 2 locations, the much bigger location at 4040 Park Avenue, right across the street there from the U of M. Check them out for great food, that full coffee bar, great breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Elwood's Shack.
We're talking college football and college football playoffs with Blake Topmeyer when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a home that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktie.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
This hour brought to you by Today's Floors and once again, Greg Gaston.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:27 is the time. Final 30 minutes and change before we call it a day. Hand things over to Dave Woloshin for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. The college football playoffs resume on Thursday and Friday with two national semifinal games. And every other Tuesday, we get a chance to talk college football with our good buddy Blake Topmeyer. He is the senior national college football columnist for USA Today Network. You can follow him on Twitter at @BTopmeyer. He joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. Happy New Year, Blake. How are you?
Yeah, same to you guys. Hope you're doing well.
Doing great. Eli mentioned this yesterday on the show, and I concur, that it's kind of like almost college football like is done, and yet we have these playoffs coming up, and it doesn't like feel like it until I guess Thursday night and they kick off. It's just the separation of the time now. We're rolling into, not quite mid-January, but almost there. We will be there when we have the national championship game. Is it kind of like a strange feeling to you as far as like the schedule and things of that nature?
Yeah, it is a little bit. I mean, for the longest time, longtime college football fans, even folks older than I, kind of associate January 1st with the end of the college football season. And then, with the BCS era and the 4-team college football playoff era, then we sort of grew accustomed to the college football season ending, the first week in January, by January 10th, thereabouts. And now we're stretching it out another 10 days. And I think it's worth it. Like with the 12-team playoff, I think we all kind of have enjoyed the bigger playoff and what it's done for the sport, what it did for the regular season, and now the postseason. But when you combine the lengthening of the season with the fact that they can't play these games on weekends because they don't want to go up against the NFL, it is sort of weird. I'll be curious to see what the ratings are. I mean, the ratings for the playoff games so far have been pretty strong. I mean, they're not NFL-like ratings, but nothing ever is, right? But there's been some games that have drawn some pretty strong ratings, and I would not be surprised to see these do it either. I mean, I think if college football's options are either to go up against the NFL on Saturdays or to play on Thursdays and Friday nights, unfortunately for college football, it's an easy choice. You got to play on Thursdays and Fridays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt you never want to go against them. And that's the thing. Like normally, like with the 14 team, like, okay, we know we got that one Monday night coming up with the championship game, but it's a weird little Thursday Friday insertion there. But yeah, I would assume they'll do very good ratings. It's football, which people do love. They've also got 4 pretty good brands, not bad brands to have in the semifinals.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you think about it, like at the beginning of the season, if you could have asked like the TV networks, or who do you want in your semifinals, I would think these 4 schools would have been near the top of the list. Maybe in Alabama in that mix, or another SEC school, but still to have only one SEC school, that would have sounded pretty dire, I think, to media partners at the beginning of the season. If you would have just started the conversation with that, like, oh, you're only going to have one SEC school in your semifinals, I think they would have started to sweat a little bit. But then once they learned your other 3 schools are going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Penn State, it's like, oh, okay, well, we'll take that. So, 4 huge brands. It's interesting that we're getting seeds 5 through 8. Now, granted, if they would have seeded based on rankings, these teams wouldn't have been seeds 5 through 8. But in this setup, this format, seeds 5 through 8, and so I think that speaks to the power of the 12-team playoff versus the 4. I mean, a couple of these teams would have been in the 4-team playoff. Certainly, Texas would have been. And then either Notre Dame or Penn State, I think, would have been in the 4-team playoff. But Ohio State would have been left out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're the team that is the favorite right now. Ohio State sort of reminds me a little bit of Georgia last year. Not necessarily style of play, but I'm just talking about like the talent assembled. And we all thought for most of the season that they were one of the top couple teams, and then they suffered a late season loss. And unlike Georgia last year, they suffered that loss in the SEC championship game to Alabama. And in a very crowded year for the 4-team playoff, they were on the outside looking in. And then I think, in the moment, and certainly in hindsight, we've all wondered, well, was Georgia probably one of the 4 best teams? How would that have affected the playoff? I'm not saying they necessarily should have been in. And the 4-team playoff, things were different. If you suffered a loss and the field got crowded, you could be left out. But in the case of Ohio State, I think undeniably they were one of the top teams in the nation. I said from the start, I thought the biggest mistake the committee made was misseeding Ohio State. There was so much focus on SMU and Indiana and who got snubbed, and that's natural. But right after the bracket came out, I thought the biggest mistake the committee made was putting Ohio State number 8. I thought the committee was a victim of the moment with that loss to Michigan. I thought Ohio State should have been the number 5 seed in this bracket, awarded to the top at-large team. They're playing like they were the top at-large team, and they're playing like we expected them to play all season, quite frankly. They don't have a weakness. Doesn't mean they're going to win the whole thing, but if we're trying to identify who's got the best chance right now, if Ohio State plays the way they played the last 2 rounds, I don't think anybody's beating them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's really strange to look at 5, 6, 7, 8, and Ohio State's the 8th seed. So they're the highest seed of those 4, yet nobody's going to mistake Ohio State for being that little Cinderella. Maybe they could pull off the upset with the highest payroll, most people believe, from the NIL standpoint. But I still believe if Ohio State wins it, of these 4 teams, that is the best story of the year. They went from, as you know, losing to their rivals, Michigan, not the Michigan team that won the Natty last year, but this year's Michigan team, to everybody and their mom wanting Ryan Day out of Columbus as quickly as he could, to winning a Natty if it happens. I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I would also say, like, you could kind of point to a good story for each of these teams.
Sure,
I mean, let's run. Yeah. I mean, you hit it with Ohio State. We'll just run through it here. Like with Texas, they've got the story of, they entered the big bad SEC. Mm-hmm. Texas had kind of become a laughing stock for a decade plus for, the whole Texas is back thing, not really being back. And then if they finally come roaring all the way back in their first year in the SEC, there's their story.
Yes.
With Penn State, never being able to break through the ceiling under James Franklin. I mean, I think James Franklin has the power to change the narrative on him more so than any other coach, with Ryan Day right there with him. But Ryan Day has won some big games in his career. He just hasn't beat Michigan enough, and he hasn't won a national championship. But Ryan Day's won more big games than what James Franklin has. I mean, James Franklin really hasn't won hardly any big games. He beat Ohio State one time when Urban Meyer was there. But he has the power to change the narrative on him. And then with Notre Dame, just a few years after Brian Kelly left him at the altar, and Notre Dame fans still haven't gotten over that, not by a long shot. I mean, I've said Notre Dame fans' favorite teams at this point are Notre Dame and whoever's playing LSU. And sometimes I actually think the order is reversed. Their favorite team is whoever's playing LSU. But if Marcus Freeman were to win the whole thing this quickly, I mean, there's really great stories on down the line, even though it's like all these blue-blooded, big-brand programs. I mean, I think sometimes in various sports we could kind of struggle to come up with a good narrative, a good story to fit, some blue-blooded juggernaut that's crushing everybody. But I do think in this case, there's a story for each of these teams.
Oh, the Notre Dame fans, and I know a lot of Notre Dame fans, like I grew up with stuff like that, but they are the whole thing when Brian Kelly left and said it's easier to win a national championship down in the SEC, all that stuff. Like they're frothing at the mouth for them to win a national championship now to use that against him. They love that, but it's I want to ask you, are you a fan of like the classic uniforms and jerseys?
I do like them. I don't get wrapped up in it as much as probably a lot of people in my generation. I feel like a lot of people, in their 30s, 40s, even more so than maybe younger people. I think everybody assumes like it's like the younger people that are obsessed with uniforms. And maybe it's just because that's who I'm around, but I feel like it's a lot of people in my generation actually, like 30s and 40-year-olds, like obsessed over uniforms. I'm not one of those people, but I do kind of like the classic look a little bit. I think Penn State has some of the best uniforms in college football. I mean, all these brands really that we have left.
These are four of the
totally.
That's what I love because I like the classics. Like I certainly Alabama has a great one, but like if you're ranking the top uniform helmets in the country, these might be four of the top 5 or 6 there are.
Yeah, I think all of them are. And for whatever reason, Penn State, maybe it's that white helmet, just a clean white helmet. Like that one, even of all these classic ones, Penn State stands out to me as maybe the best uniforms in the whole sport. So I don't love these teams that have like 7 or 8 alternate uniforms, and it's like every week they're wearing something different. I think one is for certain teams, not the classic brands, but for certain teams, I think an alternate uniform makes sense and can interject a lot of excitement around that. But I'm not, when I was on the beat covering Tennessee, it was kind of a pleasure that Jeremy Pruitt and Phil Fulmer decided they were just going to wear classic uniforms every week, because I didn't want, as a beat writer, to have to sit around every Friday and wait for the big uniform reveal to write up a story on that.
See if it was the smoke gray
like I don't
whatever.
get into it. Yeah, I don't get into it that much, which is now a thing under Josh Heupel. Like Tennessee, has the big uniform reveal every week, as a lot of schools do. I think, I covered Mizzou for a while before Tennessee, and they do the big uniform reveal on Fridays too. Like, I don't get all wrapped up in that, but I do like some of the classic looks.
Yeah, like people at Penn State, they're like, hey, we're going to wear again this week? We're going to wear white helmets and blue jerseys.
Yeah, the same thing we've been wearing the last 100 years.
No, we're going to have a white out and have to wear a dark jersey. That's the problem, where it looks strange. Blake Topmeyer is joining us from USA Today Network on the Sissies Log Cabin listener lines. All right, so let's get your thoughts on the 2 games. We start with the Orange. By the way, which one are you going to?
Well, weather permitting, I'm going to the Cotton Bowl. I'm a little concerned about getting in with my flight, getting to the stadium. So I'd call my attendance questionable, but I'm really hoping to be there because I think it's going to be a great one.
May have to jump in a rental car. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's start with Notre Dame and Penn State in the Orange Bowl. Notre Dame 2.5-point favorite. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I kind of like Penn State. It really, excuse me, guys, still getting over an illness as most people are, but this game, it's really like two sides of the same coin. I think you look at the strengths of each team, very comparable, very stout on defense. They're strong at the lines of scrimmage. Penn State has that just incredible two-headed backfield. Notre Dame generally tries to establish the run too, although they weren't able to do much of that outside of Riley Leonard against Georgia. Two teams that don't beat themselves very often. Notre Dame did beat itself against NIU with a couple turnovers, but really since September, Notre Dame has been valuing possession. You look at Penn State's turnover margin in the playoff. I think they're +5 in turnovers in the playoff. But I love Penn State's game changer at tight end, Tyler Warren. Notre Dame doesn't have anybody like that in the pass game. Drew Aller, I think, has got a little bit higher ceiling as a passer on his best day than Riley Leonard. But Riley Leonard's got the X factor with his legs. I've liked Penn State all season, and I know I actually got a column coming up this week about Penn State. It's one of those things that, like, I like the team, I question the coach. James Franklin always turtles in these games, and but I'm going to go against that and say, team to team, I just think Penn State's maybe a smidge better because I think they're a smidge more dynamic on offense, and Tyler Warren's a big reason for that. So I don't feel a ton of conviction in it, but I would pick Penn State.
In the other matchup, what can Texas do to slow down Jeremiah Smith and company with the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, hard to figure how you slow them down if you don't get pressure on the quarterback.
Right.
I mean, I think
exactly.
If Will Howard's got time to work, I think it's going to be tough because Ohio State has realized, Chip Kelly, Ryan Day have realized the thing that separates them from everybody else is their wide receiver core. They're good at every position. They're really good at every position. But all these other teams in the semifinals are really good on defense too. These other teams, I mentioned Penn State's backfield. Ohio State's got a great backfield. Penn State's got a backfield that's just as good as Ohio State. The thing that separates Ohio State, the thing that nobody else has, are receivers of this caliber. Texas has some good receivers. Ohio State has great receivers. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, that's a 1-2 punch that nobody else can replicate. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's phenomenal. I have to think he'd be a first-round NFL draft pick if he could come out this year as a 19-year-old. And he's been so good that he overshadows Emeka Egbuka a little bit, and that guy's just Mr. Reliable veteran. It's like he's been stacking up 90 reception seasons. Seems like for a lifetime now. He's been there for a long time. So you put them together, that's what separates Ohio State. And Will Howard, since that Michigan loss, a couple games since then, the 2 playoff games, he's been playing his best ball of his career. Mm-hmm. And actually, there's no Heisman winner in the bunch at quarterback. But of the 4 quarterbacks still in this thing, I think I'd probably take Will Howard first, and that might be influenced a little bit by his supporting cast. But yeah, I think unless Texas can get some pressure on Will Howard, he's going to be pretty comfortable working back there. And I really like Texas' defense. I do. I've been a believer in Texas' defense all season. They haven't always stepped on the throat at times. They let Arizona State back in it, although Cam Scatterbu had a lot to do with that. But, just going up against this receiving corps, that's what separates Ohio State.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head because I do like Texas's secondary, but it doesn't matter if Howard's getting time. He'll pick apart the secondary. You can only defend so much. So can Texas get any pressure against that Ohio State offensive line? I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, and that's been the question about Ohio State coming into the playoff, right? Is had a couple injuries on the offensive line. Offensive line did not have a good day against Michigan, and so you wonder, can they replicate that, or did those 3 weeks between the Michigan game and the playoff give Ohio State the time to get things figured out on the offensive line, where they didn't have that figured out in late November. They do have it figured out now. I kind of think maybe they have it figured out a little bit, but this will be the best defense that they've faced in the playoff. I mean, Tennessee, the defense got a lot of love throughout the regular season, but we saw when Tennessee played Georgia in the regular season, their defense did very, very little to provide resistance against Georgia. And I think Tennessee did have a good defense, but I also think Tennessee was sort of a byproduct of their schedule a little bit. Texas, they didn't play the toughest schedule either, but I do think Texas' defense is filled with guys that NFL scouts like. Really at every level, I like Texas' defense. But I don't think their defense is quite as good as Ohio State's on their best day. I don't think their offense is quite as good as Ohio State's on their best day. So, yeah, they're going to need to generate some pressure. They're probably going to need to generate some turnovers from that pressure. I think 5.5, 6 point line is kind of fair on this game. But if somebody's getting blown out, Texas would be the team getting blown out. They need to generate pressure. They need to generate some turnovers.
He is Blake Topmeyer, senior national college football columnist for the USA Today Network. You can follow him on Twitter at @BTopmeyer. Good luck in your travels, getting down to Dallas. We're scheduled, I guess, the next time to talk the day after the Natty, and I don't know, your travel may be an issue there. We'll try to figure something out, but we certainly want to get you for at least one more time to talk about what happened, what transpired. But hopefully there are 2 great games coming up on Thursday and Friday. Blake will have you covered at USA Today Network. Blake, as always, thank you so much.
Okay, sounds good. Good talking to you.
Take care.
Folks, is it a new home for you in this new year? Well, if so, if you've got a move coming up, Talk to the folks at Black Tie Moving, and they'll take care of you, take care of your belongings, make sure you have no issues, and take a lot of that stress and worry out of the moving process for you. Call the folks at Black Tie at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to talk to the folks from Black Tie, working with you and them to come up with a plan for your move, fitting your needs and fitting your budget as well. Again, 901-316-6196 or blacktiemoving.com/Memphis. You will get a no-obligation quote up front so you know exactly what it's going to cost throughout the move. They're available to answer your questions. Anything that comes up, they're there to answer the phone and answer those questions for you. So if you've got that new home that you're moving into, or maybe it's a new office space here in 2025, talk to the professionals, talk to the experts at Black Tie Moving.
You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even foosball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beer sale? Family Leisure has beer sale up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it and get on the installation schedule and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model show. Now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together.
The system at Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar is perfect. First, you order at the counter from the huge menu, chock full of deliciousness. Wait, before you do that, just make sure your entire party is there. Then, get in line. Then, order at the counter from the huge menu of deliciousness. Then, grab a number and head to any table you'd like. I mean, as long as there aren't people already sitting there. Then, before you know it, the best breakfast or lunch you can't find anywhere but Sunrise will arrive, piping hot and fresh. Remember, you can only stay an hour at Sunrise because people refuse to leave.
Welcome back, everybody. 9:49 is the time. Our final segment here on this Tuesday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Got some breaking NFL news.
Yeah, the Titans are moving on from GM Ran Carthon. Amy Adams Strunk releasing a statement. Says, I've loved the time I've spent with Ran. He is a talented football mind, a great man, and a friend to everyone along his path. It's impossible to ignore that our football team hasn't improved over the past 2 years. I'm deeply disappointed in our poor win-loss record during this period, of course, but my decision also speaks to my concern about our long-term future should we stay the course. So they will be looking for a new GM to make that number one overall selection in the draft.
Yeah, they dumped John Robinson, friend of the show, and brought in Ran. High hopes for Ran. But 2 years. You're talking about coaches now that are getting a year or two, GMs that are getting 2 years, and organizations are moving on. They'll bite the bullet if there's money left on the contract to try to figure out what went wrong. But yes, the Titans have gotten worse. They want the number one draft pick, and I guess the thought also is that they'd rather have somebody else making that decision.
He was ran out of the building.
He was ran out of the building. You're not going to fire, well, you don't think, a first-year head coach, although it happened in New England with Gerard Mayo, but Brian Callahan was more than likely going to be given more than 1 year. But the Titans have a huge decision to make on who they want to bring in to run the club and what are they going to do with that first overall pick. Do they still think Will Levis is the guy, or are they going to go with a quarterback? Speaking of the NFL draft, this was interesting. There's a site where they do the mock draft simulator, and they did it for the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. And their draft picks are quite interesting because they have a local tie. After their first pick, which is number 6 overall, Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, they go Trey Harris at number 39, Jackson Dart at number 70, former Rebel running back, now with Ohio State, Quinshon Judkins at number 71. So you're bringing the gang back. Ole Miss, Trey Harris, Jackson Dart, Quinshon Judkins.
Maybe they could bring Lane Kiffin back to coach again, too.
Possibly. And then at number 140...
Pretty sure the Davis family is done with him, though.
I would think so. And then at number 144, he may not be an Ole Miss Rebel, but he is an Arizona State Sun Devil, Cam Skattebo. Would you like that draft right there? You get Will Johnson, cornerback Michigan. You get Trey Harris. You get Jackson Dart. You get Judkins. Then you get Deontay Lawson, linebacker from Alabama at 108. And then Cam Skattebo at 144.
At 144, I would definitely take Cam Skattebo.
I mean, right there, that draft looks pretty good. Trey Harris, I think, is going to be a big-time NFL player. You know, I don't know about Dart. We'll see. And then later in the draft, they got some interesting picks as well here. Again, this is just a simulator, but I think the Raiders would probably sign up for that one right now.
Texter says, rank the final 4 coaches in college football that are remaining that you trust to win the championship.
Okay. Well, let's see. You got James Franklin, you have Ryan Day, you got Sark, and you got Freeman. Nobody trusts Franklin.
I would put Day first. Probably Sark second.
I don't know if I trust Sark. I think I would go
Freeman third and Franklin fourth.
Even Ryan Day, to some extent, is not real trustworthy. I would go, that's a great question, by the way, from our texter. I'd go Ryan Day 1, Marcus Freeman 2, Steve Sarkisian 3, and then, unfortunately, James Franklin, who I like. But maybe James Franklin gets it done. That Penn State-Notre Dame game, I just don't know right now. I think that game could be a really low-scoring game, but I don't know which side. Right now, I'd lean toward. Notre Dame's the slight favorite, 2-point favorite.
Raider Cortex says, heck no on Lane, Eli. Don't do that. Yeah, I forget. You talked about rolling over in their grave. Al Davis would be rolling over in his grave if Lane Kiffin ever was the coach of the Raiders again.
Absolutely.
He would be. He might come back out somehow. Al might be brought back from the grave by that move. I'm pretty sure Mark probably is on the same path. So unless Tom Brady's a big Lane Kiffin guy.
They would take, though, the return of the successful Tom Flores as the Raiders coach. I'm sure he would take him back from the grave if that was possible. He had a lot of success. There was a lot of successful coaches in the Raiders' history, but it was many, many moons ago.
Reggie says, nobody trusts Franklin, so I'll take him to win it all.
Look, it wouldn't be stunning if Penn State won it. I have doubted Penn State the whole year, and I may eat my words. But the one thing I know is going to happen is, since I don't like laying future bets, I don't do it for whatever reason. But I said before the season started on this show that Ohio State was my pick to win it all. I forget what the odds were then. They were one of the favorites, certainly. But it'll probably come back to haunt me that I didn't play that with Ohio State. Nobody is taking Texas. Everybody's taking Ohio State. I want to see if somebody can really lay out a case for Texas to win that game. Because I think what Blake Topmeyer just said with us is right on target. I just don't see Ohio State losing that game. But Notre Dame, Penn State, I have no idea. And Ohio State would be a touchdown favorite over either one?
Sure. Part of it will depend on how the games go, though.
Sure. But I would think so right now. But the one surprise, the biggest surprise would be, I'm sure, in the eyes of most people, is if Ohio State lost to Texas. But yeah, I don't know if any of those guys are real trustworthy. Freeman, I mean, hasn't had enough time. But Sark, I question him. I question Franklin. Day, you got to question, right? The big games against Michigan, he's lost. But somebody's going to break the ice in this particular game. Somebody's going to break the ice. What time, by the way, does that TGL start tonight? For those who want to watch it. Tomorrow, Golf League.
8 o'clock, it'll follow. I'm not sure which college basketball game is on ESPN. There'll be a 6 o'clock game on ESPN, and that will follow that. I think it might be. I don't think it's either one of the SECs. I think it might be. I think Duke maybe plays tonight. I think
they do.
They're the
They do.
ESPN game, and that'll be follow. I guess that will follow that because it's on at 8 o'clock.
Well, after not having shows the last 2 Wednesdays for New Year's Day and for Christmas Day, we're back to our regular schedule tomorrow. Jerry Palm will join us at 8:25. We'll talk Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole at 9:05, and Memphis Tigers basketball with Parth Upadhyay at 9:25. I want to thank Hunter Story, Dave Hooker, and Blake Topmeyer for joining us on the show today. Wallow and Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. For Eli Savoy and for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Stay warm. Have a great day, everybody.